Ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Monday night. A brand new week here for us as we get ourselves prepared for the ISRC Larry Art Productions Truck Series as they continue to march their way forward through the season. It's been a fun one so far, but race 5 is upon us for the Legacy Arts Production 140 at Legacy Phoenix. This is the old configuration of Phoenix that these drivers are going to be tackling. There's no open dog leg. They got to stay on the racing surface. And the drivers are trying to hold on for dear life under the desert as the field is underway with practice. We're ready to give you the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth, like always, is Zach Hall. And Zach, race 5 of the season. We are almost at the halfway zone of the regular season. And these drivers, they've got a tough task here tonight.
Very tough task here in the desert of Arizona, man. This is going to be fun to watch tonight as we're bringing out a track that really hasn't been used in so long. So, I mean, first time for this series, first time I believe even for us here in the broadcasting booth. We were kind of even trying to think back of when was the time we've called a race here, and I don't think we ever have. So this is going to be fun to watch. It's definitely, you know, it's still the same Phoenix, but it's got a different look to it with different bankings and just a much older surface. So I'm expecting some good old short track racing and maybe some old school style one of that.
Who's going to use the bumper? Who's going to be able to just keep the truck underneath them? The field has been saying a lot throughout practice and throughout the week, saying this track is going to be tough, and especially with how these starts of the race, restarts, everyone is concerned about cold tires and trying to keep these trucks underneath themselves. But for tonight, let's go to trackside and see how the drivers are handling with practice. They got a minute left in practice here this evening, but taking a sky view, this track very unique in the design. But if you've been watching current Phoenix, this track is different. The start-finish line is no longer out, going to the dog leg. It's now where current the backstretch is. So, Zach, that difference could be massive here tonight on how these drivers want to tackle, maybe going for a late pass or even with the start of the race.
You're exactly right. Changing just that dynamic of where that start-finish line can be a huge subject for sure, and I think it makes, where 1 and 2 would normally be after that dog leg, they're heading down, and they're a corner that, is one of the corners I'd say you try to set up passes and make them. It makes it now 3 and 4 for this configuration. So it makes it where coming out of 4, you could have a very interesting battle coming out of there. So I'm excited for it. In my opinion, I actually like this start finish line a little bit better where it's at. Just I think 4 is a better corner to race out of than compared to 2 here tonight. So we'll see what it produces, but for sure the one thing I think we're going to see a lot of is shifting going on, where these guys are going from 4th down to 3rd. That can cause some issues with Will Hogg getting into the corners. So I'm expecting to see some close action.
Yeah, I've heard some drivers shifting is their big factor of getting that top speed. Others are going to be not shifting to protect their tires. The different mentalities when we go green for racing is going to be the key, but I think also what could be a big key, qualifying. These drivers touched on, when I was talking to them, dirty air is a big thing that they're worried about, but Zach, they got to hit their marks first to get that good qualifying time.
That they do. This is going to be very important about hitting your marks, and that's the one thing I watched when seeing a lot of these drivers here. We're watching Travis Everett actually go out here and attempt his first time around. It's a very big key to hit the marks here. If you get up the racetrack here in the middle of 3 and 4, it just doesn't have the same grip that near that yellow line does, and you're going to need to have that, especially coming off this corner here, to carry the speed to the start finish line to start your lap. I think a lot of drivers are going to be finding that speed on that second lap as the tires begin to warm up even. So not only is it critical to get your line all set up perfectly, but it's also critical to get some heat in these tires on this first lap to make sure that you have that optimal grip for the second.
Top 5 fastest drivers from practice was the 11 of John Forbes being the fastest. Danny Cochran, second fastest. Ollie Fonseca, third fastest, with Joshua Kanata and Christopher Norris going to be your top 5 drivers from the practice times. But here in qualifying lap 1, give it to the 16 of Joshua Kanata at 28.401, excuse me, is going to be the fast time, and that would have been the second fastest lap during practice. But that is something we touched on before we went live. Track temp going to be a big thing, and these drivers already feeling a much quicker racetrack than what they were even dealing with practice.
That they were. I mean, we were at 114 degrees when it came to the track temp when we left practice. we're now down at 109, so much more grip, and I think you're going to see it there from the top time coming through, and that's John Forbes to the top, a 28.290. What a lap time from Forbes.
Massive speed coming from John Forbes as Tyler Dingler in the 19 trying to make his way through the exit of turn 4. And I might be noticing a lot of these drivers running different schemes this evening. Well, it's throwback night for drivers, some throwing it back to schemes of past races in NASCAR and in real life NASCAR schemes, while Tyler Dingler doing a throwback to season 1 to a Vincent Sora scheme back at the Las Vegas race where Vincent Sora did not get that win. But talking about real life schemes, this is probably the most notable one of Jeff Gordon's older schemes, that Rainbow Warrior.
That it is. We're going to see, I think, a few more notable ones out there for sure as the night goes on, and that's going to be fun to see all those different throwback schemes these drivers have brought out. I know a few teams have kind of stylized even together, and that's going to be cool to see how those cars kind of give us that nostalgia feeling that always throwback races do. But it's like more times coming through as Christopher Nolan, who jumped up the 4th. Jared Talmadge, he's going to jump up to the 8th position. As right now we're continuing to watch Thomas Green. We'll see what his second lap here is going to produce.
Thomas Green's first lap did not count, brushed the wall, but his second lap hoping to climb a little bit higher on the board and will be inside of the top 10, 8th place for the 00. GT Irizarry going to be going with a default iRacing scheme, which I mean, in some ways is a throwback to iRacing themselves, as the 14 now going to be starting up his first lap. Currently underway, and we've seen drivers that protect their tires on that first lap, just trying to heat up as much rubber as they can. GT Irizarry trying to hit his marks as he starts lap number 2.
See what the times produce here for him as he comes back around. That first time through, 17th on the board with a 28.608. He's gonna need about 3/10 if he wants to put himself anywhere near that pole position. We'll see through 3 and 4, critical corner here, very flat. Very important about putting the power down. He's going to be a little up the racetrack, but that's going to help him get a good run off here and stay about that wall as he gets very, very close as he comes through to complete that second lap. It's going to be a 28.57. That'll jump him up to 12.
A slight bump up. Malik Kuntz was on course for his second lap, but brushed the wall and decided to not take the end of that lap, as Joshua Fareed will also default to not putting out a time. 27 drivers officially will put a time in, and John Forbes will be taking your pole award here. Qualifying grid sponsored by Hot Lap Threads. As well, a huge thank you to Lariat Productions and Morecast for being our 3 major sponsors here for the ISRC Truck Series. Again, this is race number 5. Practice is done, qualifying is done. These drivers are about to be entering a 5-minute warm-up session to give them some time of just getting last-minute preparations of how they want to tackle this track and also figure out where their pit stalls are going to be after qualifying being finished. But tonight's race is going to be 140 laps in total. Stage break at the end of lap 50. No fast repairs, 4 extra sets of tires in pit road. I think, Zach, that stage break, probably the big thing I'm circling up on. 50 laps that they have to figure out who's going to be in the top 10 for those bonus points.
That is going to be fun to watch for sure. When it gets down to that, it's going to be the crunch time, and we'll see, I think, a little bit of push come to shove, because talking to a few drivers out there, it is tough to pass. You know, we're shifting here, so that makes the momentum a little bit different for style of passing, and also it's very one groove, it seems, tonight here, also this older style racetrack. So we might see those bumpers have to come into play at some point, and I think if we want to get an early preview of what we could come down to the end of the race, lap 50 will be a telltale sign for that probably.
It certainly could, as we're going to take a look at our standings coming into tonight's race. A couple of notable drivers to talk about. Top of the board, Vincent Sora, not going to be racing here tonight, taking this week off. So could be seeing a switch of who's going to be in that lead position on points, giving John Forbes a chance to crack his way forward, or Christopher Norris. And then we move down to where the cutoff drivers are. Dakota Moniz is going to be that 16th place driver, just an 8-point gap lead. But our biggest mover from last week, Mason Cassidy, grabbing his first top 10 of the season, and it was a big one, bumping himself, now tied with 20th with Aaron Kralik.
Very, very close leaderboard here for sure, Sam. And yeah, like you said, around that cut line, the guys like Martin Morales, Gregory Smith, Travis Everett, Mason Cassidy, all just right outside of there. And I mean, even Aaron Kralik's tied with them. So it's Definitely going to be close all the way coming down to the end, but it's crazy to say we're already going to be 5 races into this thing, and we'll be quickly nearing the playoffs. So if you are around that cut line, you need to stay close because it'll quickly go away here with the time running out.
It certainly will. As we move away from the standings, let's take a look at the schedule and those last couple of races that are left before we get into the playoffs. We have tonight at the Legacy Phoenix course. Next week, the drivers head to the Milwaukee Mile, which everyone's kind of tentatively nervous about how that race is going to go. Then we have a week off as the drivers will take March 25th off. They'll come back for April 1st as they head to Gateway, Charlotte for race number 8, Pocono, Lime Rock, which is going to be an interesting race for race number 10. And finishing out the regular season, the drivers head to Las Vegas, and that's going to be finishing out April before the playoffs start in May.
Super exciting part of the schedule we're about to enter into. I mean, we've been hyping this up for sure. Of course, starting tonight with Legacy Phoenix, but you know, we talk about character with this track and how bumpy and old it is. Then we go to Milwaukee Mile in a week. It's going to be definitely an interesting stretch of the schedule with Gateway right after that.
It certainly will. And today going to be the middle portion of the short track kind of dash that they're having 4 races in a row with short track tendencies. And a lot of drivers are curious if they're going to be able to keep their tempers low. But as we are entering into our final 2 minutes of the warm-up, it gives us time to kind of bring up our new segment that we brought in last week, our pick'ems of who we think is going to win tonight's race. Zach, you kind of got a freebie last week with Vincent Sora, but today's going to be a little bit tougher as we're going to be starting off with my pick, going to be Cody Reed. I thought maybe I'll go with maybe a little bit of a different style of deciding on, you know, let's try something different. Cody's been talking to my ear saying, hey, he's got this in the bag. He's someone to watch out for. Qualifying, certainly. He was hoping for maybe a little bit more speed from that 25 machine as he'll be qualifying down in 7th. But Cody has been sneakily quick at this Phoenix track, Zach, and I think he could try to sneak away with a win if there's strategy involved later on in the race.
I think that's a very good pick, Sam. I gotta commend you on that one. Cody was definitely on my list of drivers to look at coming in here tonight at Legacy Phoenix. The one I had to go with tonight, my gut was just telling me I think it's going to be the 2 machine of Danny Cochran. You went with him last week, wasn't able to get it done, but I think this week he's going to come in here and show that, you know, the driver that puts in preparation like Danny does. And I know Danny, he's just so good at preparing for a new style race like this, and especially something shifting kind of off the wall like this. I think the 2 machine is going to be very interesting to watch. And starting 6th, he's going to need to move his way up through if he wants to get that win.
Not a bad pick at all. My driver qualified 7th, yours qualified 6th, and Robert Moyer Jr. not going with the extreme underdog. Ollie Fonseca qualifying 5th in front of our drivers. Hey, that's not a bad picking selection, as Ollie will be Robert's selection for his pick'em. Yeah, it's kind of interesting that they lined up in a row, but they're not the top dogs to watch out for. It's actually going to be John Forbes, Cedric Hunter, Joshua Kanata, and Christopher Norris going to be your top 4 drivers. So our pick'ems got a little bit of work to do, but they're all going to be strong here tonight.
I think they'll all be strong here tonight, but yeah, those drivers up there above them, I think we may be coming out of this with none of us, picking the right one, because they definitely look quick. Forbes, so quick, because so far I've led practice, qualifying, the warm up, everything has been John Forbes led by, and Cedric Hunter sneaking up there, and even Kanata, don't count him out. I watched his 20 lap run; he had the best 20 lap average of anybody out there. So watch out for the 16.
Sneaky speed is all around the course, and we have ourselves 29 drivers expected to take the green here this evening. Who will take the glory here at Legacy Phoenix? We'll have to take a look as we head down to grid to check a look at our grid as the drivers have their Hot Lap Threads qualifying grid sponsor. Thank you to Hot Lap Threads for being the qualifying sponsor. If you'd like to go get yourself a collection of great racing apparel, go on over to Hot Lap Threads today to get yourself some great coverage of merchandise. As John Forbes will take the pole award for the 11, Cedric Hunter will be 2nd. The 3rd place position will be Joshua Kanata. So Christopher Norris is going to be starting in 4th in the 38 machine. Ollie Fonseca in 5th. 6th goes to Danny Cochran. Cody Reed in 7th. 8th we find Nick Crawford. Jarrett Talmadge in 9th. And finishing out our top 10, it's the 00 of Thomas Green.
Starting in 11th, it's the 3 of Anthony Gaudio. Starting alongside him in 12th, it's going to be the 14 of GT Irizarry. 13th position going to be held by Matthew Greathouse with Mason Cassidy qualifying in 14th. 15th is going to be Curtis Preston with 16th being held by Justin Smith. 17th in qualifying is going to be Dakota Moniz with 18th being the 13th of Travis Everett. 19 of Tyler Dingler going to start in 19th, and alongside him in 20th is the 01 of Aaron Crowley.
In 21st, we find the 50 machine is Samuel Gonzalez. In 22nd position, it's Jesse Thornock in the 20. Tyler Horn in 23rd. 24th position is the 34 of Ryan Ferraro. Mark Morales going to be starting back in 25th. Max Cost in 26th. 27th is Justin Malarkey. And the two drivers that could not get a time placed in, it's Malik Kuntz in 28th position and Joshua Freed starting all the way back in 29th. We do have 4 drivers that were penalized after last week. Only 3, though, will officially be penalized with this restart. With Vincent Zora not here, he will be having an L1 end-of-the-line start for the next race that he shows up for, which will be the Milwaukee Mile next week. But those 3 drivers that have to fall to the back, it's going to be Anthony Gaudio, Mark Beverly, and Travis Everett. They're going to have to start the end of the line. For Travis Everett, ARCA braking penalty for himself, same for Mark Beverly, and then a restart violation for Anthony Gaudio. Tough breaks for a track, Zach, that's going to be tough to make some passes at.
That it is. If you're one of those guys getting dropped to the back like that, that's going to be a long night. But you got 140 laps. The big thing I think you need to set a goal for is get to that lap 50 stage and just trying to make up some ground from there. It's going to be tough, like we said, with passing, but you never know. This thing could get a little bit chaotic. We could have some bent up fenders and hurt emotions and feelings here very soon, and you could be taking advantage of that just because you're starting out bad.
Absolutely. Like you said, tonight's race, 140 laps, stage break at the end of lap 50. No fast repair. Fortress sets tires in pit road. These first 50 laps, top 10 drivers get bonus points. End of our stage. Up front, John Forbes, Cedric Hunter. Big thing, these tires are not going to be happy. The exit of turn 2 could be a danger zone if drivers try to get a little bit too giddy. So this initial launch going to be very critical. You don't want any damage, but if you do, hope that it's minimal because the field is stacked. They're ready to get rolling here at the mile course of Legacy Phoenix International Raceway. As up front, John Forbes, Cedric Hunter, they wait for the base car to pull into pit road as they exit out of turn number 4. It's race time here for the Legacy Arts Production 140 into the restart zone. A great launch for the 11 on the inside. Everyone else going to be stacked on top of one another as they go down into turn number 1. They look stable for now as they exit at turn number 2.
Here we go. Cedric Hunter washing up the racetrack. That's going to make it 3 wide. Christopher Norris to the middle, and this is already starting off early. Pretty wild, but Canada on the bottom. Christopher Norris in the middle, and it's Cedric Hunter up top as they almost make contact as they head down to 3. Fonseca going to wash up the racetrack also.
Oh, Canada, Norris, contact going to be made. The 16 has to back off for a quick second, and everyone getting each other enough space to get around the 16 as they cycle forward. Canada, great save. Could have overcorrected back into Danny Cochran, but they keep it together as they exit out of turn number 2. These tires, they aren't going to feel too comfortable, but luckily they're building a little bit of heat to work with.
That they are building heat right now, and Canada right there did a good job of holding the bottom, and I think Christopher Norris just not giving maybe enough room for that 16, makes a little contact. That sent the 16 sideways, and now Canada's fighting here to hold on, but it looks like if you can get to someone's outside, it makes life very tough on you also. So maybe the passing on the outside will be where to go.
Trying to see where to place yourself as Danny Cochran able to make his way past Joshua Canada. Nick Crawford going to be in 8th place, figuring out where the 74 wants to go. Talking about these throwback schemes, here's a couple of shots of them. We got the Dale Earnhardt Jr. scheme of Cody Reed in the 25. We got the Jeff Gordon throwback scheme for Nick Crawford, as well the great clip schemes of so many past. Thinking back of all the great clip machines of the Joe Gibbs Xfinity Series all throughout the past seasons, and seeing a couple of drivers trying to make their way forward.
That we are seeing a few definitely starting to make the charge here. It looks like Mason Cassidy on the back bumper of Thomas Green here. He's got Jared Talmadge not too far ahead of him, but right now it's just pretty much a single file line. But from 12th on back, we actually got Curtis Preston trying to make the pass on Matthew Breakhouse back here in the 14th position. So that's some good little battling as they're stacking up here coming off of 2.
They're stacking up coming out of turn number 2. Also, Tyler Horn have a great save out of turn number 2. As a couple of other throwback schemes as Greathouse in the 51. Along with the Sneakers throwback scheme, Kyle Busch ran for a while there. As well as behind him is the 5 of Dakota Moniz as they're closing in on the 6 who brushes the wall of Justin Smith.
Very interesting to see back here this racing going on, and great house right there in the 51, right ahead of Moniz and the 6 of Justin Smith. You know, watched him in practice a little bit. I felt like he might be a driver to watch out for right here in the mid pack of the field. So maybe that 51, we try to move forward here later. But right now, in the mix here with this group is a lot of these drivers are the drivers around that cut line, Sam.
Around the cut line and just inside of the top 20, as those other drivers also are keeping it side by side or around that 20th position in round 19th and 20th. As you see, Great House trying to set up to get by the 6, but Justin Smith, yes, brushes the wall, but continues the motor forward for the 6 as our leader, John Forbes, continues to pull away other drivers that are behind. You see the 20 machine of Jesse Thornock in 18th position, really kind of in no man's land, but slowly being caught up by Tyler Dangler, but Dangler is under heavy pressure behind of Kuntz as well as Gonzalez and Horn.
Yes, it is heavy pressure for sure. And this group continuing here to really slide around, I've noticed off of 2, and I think that might be due to the shifting. You go down that 3rd gear, you really start to light those tires up. Is right in front of this 26 to 98 of Kuntz. He's starting to take action and go forward even here and dives to the inside of Thornock, but looks like the 98 who started out back, he's coming through a vengeance here, Sam.
He certainly is. Base mover right now up 9 positions and trying to continue his way forward if possible, as Anthony Gaudio in the 3 machine, another one of those drivers that's trying to make his way forward in the number 3 Dale Sr. Throwback scheme. As we take a closer look at it, this note of this scheme, Danny Cochran actually made this scheme, and he actually made this right before the session popped up. He had about an hour before the race station went up, and he was able to get this finished, but there's a driver wrecking in front. It's going to be the 6 of Justin Smith bringing out the caution.
Oh, man, that's unfortunate for Smith, who was having a good run there, but going to have a quick yellow, and that's going to bring us to a hold as you can see him getting back up the speed here, and that looked like it was coming out at 4 there.
Coming out of 4 was going to be the 6 spinning out, but then there was aftermath collision. Mark Morales getting tapped and spun into the 6, but here's going to be the initial start and catalyst to this incident. Battling side by side and on that apron, it's not the safest place to be. Gasses it up and just kind of a lazy spin. I don't know if there was contact there between the 51 and the 6, but then there's the bump of going to be Everett into Morales and hard contact for the 91.
Yeah, went back and looked at it. There was a slight bit of contact from the 51, but I think the 6 was already pretty much done for at that point. So that was really tough, for him spinning around there. And then, of course, Martin, comes into his picture in here and just kind of, I think he might have got hit by the 13, I believe, of Travis Everett. So that was so tough here as we go back and look at it, what happens here to Martin.
You're going to be seeing that Anthony Gaudio is going to back off for the 3, and 91 reacts because of that contact, and the 13 gives the bump, and hard front end damage goes to the 91 of Mark Morales. Required damage is given to Morales, who's now going to have to go forced into pit road, and also going to be a couple of other drivers entering pit road. Surprisingly, though, Nick Crawford giving up top 10 positioning to enter pit road. The 74. That is a gutsy call 12 laps into this race.
It is very gutsy, Sam. I'm interested to see. Because even the lap times they're running, the fall off was not very much. It was only a couple tenths of a second for a few guys, and I'm interested to see what the strategy would be there for him. Because it doesn't. Yeah, he did take tires. I was about to say I want to check see if he took tires. He did. So, yeah, no problems when it comes to fuel to get to lap 50, so maybe he just feels like he needs those extra tires if we do have a long run here as we're checking out the weather.
As the weather conditions for tonight's race, going to be 87 degrees Fahrenheit in the ambient air temperature, and then on track temp, going to be 104 degrees. Our drivers are saying, watch out. If the track temp cools off, they are going to get a lot faster, but if it heats up, expect that wear and tear on the tires to get worse, and also the wind really going over 10 miles per hour is when these drivers really start to feel how the wind affects them, and it's been bouncing from 10 up to 16 miles per hour since the race started. So we'll keep an eye on how this race condition continues to evolve throughout tonight's race, but right now in a salvageable spot. If you think about where they were at right before they started qualifying, that practice session was a lot hotter than this race temp.
It really was. It was up to 117, 118 at one point, and Now we're down to 104. So definitely a huge gain when it comes to track grip and a huge drop in track temperature. So that definitely is a correlation you'll see, and some speeds will be up for sure.
Well, the drivers up front going to be John Forbes, Christopher Norris, Danny Cochran, Cedric Hunter, Ollie Fonseca going to be your front runners. Biggest mover of those drivers is Danny Cochran, up 3 positions as we are back to green flag racing. And John Forbes got the launch that was needed. Everyone else, they're open once again. The difficulty of exiting turn number 2 is still there as everyone's stacked on top of one another.
Everybody slots in line as they come off of turn 2, but it's going to be the battle back for round 5th. It's Ollie Fonseca on the inside of Joshua Kanata. And Kanata here trying not to have the same repeat from last restart where he got stuck on the bottom. This time he's going to be up top trying to make the move.
Trying to keep this position and move forward is Joshua Kanata, who's trying to keep the nose ahead of the 24 of Ollie Fonseca. Fonseca throwing back to the Transformers. Oh boy, what a slide by that 24. Transformers scheme of Jeff Gordon. And then the Greg Biffle 16 for Kanata is Ollie Fonseca now going to be in a tough spot. It's got Cody Reed and a bunch of other drivers stacking behind as they exit at turn number 4.
Stacking up here, right here, the 25 right ahead of the 17. And oh, the 10. Atomich had to back out of that situation there coming off of 4, or he could have got into that 17 more. So great heads up move by Jarrett there. That's going to allow Thomas to get around his outside, but he's going to try to keep fighting here off of 2.
The teammates of the 10 and the 00. We haven't seen these guys. They came back last week at Richmond of Talmadge and Green. Didn't really have the showing they were hoping for, but 2 major threats if you look back at the past of season 2 and 3. And season 3 was the last time that we saw both these drivers, and it's always exciting when you see past drivers come back as a drifting 24 holds on again, but more drivers slight contact as it direct recoils back. That chain reaction somehow they keep it straight.
Sake there. I'm not sure if he got a touch from Reed there on the intro one, but man, oh man, what a save from him, and everybody doing a good job when that stacked up to not run over each other. I'm sure Cody didn't mean to get into the rear end of him there. That's why he did a good job of actually getting him rolled up and not completely running Ollie over, but it also took some good wheelmanship from that 24 to hold him off, or hold that machine on the racetrack. So you see here now Reed under threat from the 17 of Cassidy, who, gotta say, one of the better short track drivers out there. The 17 wouldn't be surprised to see him up there in factory something.
No, especially after his performance last week. You think back to how Mason ran at Richmond. This is kind of a similar track in some factors, just short track racing factors, and also the downshifting. The 17 is hoping to continue to move forward, running the Dan Patrick number 10 throwback scheme on the 17. Always fun to see these different treads. Also, talk about treads. Want to talk about driver who took 4 tires and fuel. Nick Crawford has advanced forward. He's now currently battling for 13th and is moving quickly. I mean, Zach already up to 13th position, and we've only been green for about 5 laps so far.
Well, I think he made a little bit of contact with the 4 there, who was able to gather it up now as he's going to try to look to the inside of Curtis Preston here. Down into 1 and 2, Preston going to close the door and say, they're not going to come through that easy, but Nick Crawford there waits on the gas, gets a good run, but don't know if he'll get to the inside here and then dogleg as he will not have that positioning. But almost up to 12th here after he makes this pass. He's doing a good job, but how long are we going to stay green here is going to be the question. And if we do, he could be very well in a position to win the stage.
He certainly could. And then also battling inside of our top 5, going to be action for 2nd. Danny Cochran's able to get by Christopher Norris, and also seeing Cedric Hunter get into the mix. And Danny Cochran, a favorite track of his, most likely could say is Phoenix, because of the fact that the 2 last time that we ran here was back in season 3 when Cochran won this race and won the season 3 championship with that victory, and is hoping to continue on his way forward as the Hello Kitty number 7 machine is on the charge, rocking some new threads of the orange, moving away from the pink, but still having the Hello Kitty on that front hood.
Yeah, the cool looking Alan Kowicki throwback here from him for the number 7 machine. So definitely a good job, and another throwback there made by Danny Cochran out there. So Cochran really knows how to make the fade schemes, man. He's definitely very good.
Gotcha.
Look at the caution.
And it's the 20 of Jesse Thornock having issues off the exit of turn 2, as he is going to have some slight contact between himself and Tyler Horn. It's going to bring out this yellow, and I think this kind of puts everyone in a more of an interesting spot, because We're officially at the halfway point of this race. Pit stop makes a lot more sense here if you're looking for some stage points, but here's what brought out our second caution of the day. Aggressive driving, 26 stays high. Thornock gasses it up and just drives right into the 26 off the exit.
Yeah, looks like even the 26 maybe coming down a little bit on the exit, so they kind of, their lines just came together. Unfortunately, spun Thornock down the racetrack and towards that inside wall, but luckily didn't hit that wall, just the contact that was made there coming off of 2. So could have been much worse, but able to somewhat gather it up and get that truck back going. But now I think no-brainer for a lot of these guys. Pit road's busy, Sam.
Pit road's busy, and Nick Crawford stays out. Everyone else going to get 4 tires and a fuel. And for Crawford, the advantage he once had of having a 12-lap advantage, well, guess what? He's going to be having the 12-lap disadvantage now with all these drivers that just came into pit road.
You were exactly right. So roles reversed for him. And, ooh, I mean, it's going to be nice for him to have some track position. That will work for him. I mean, it looks like he's got Malarkey, who's going to stay out with him, along with Tyler Dingler, Travis Everett, and Justin Smith. So he'll have, 4 trucks right behind Nick Crawford, and with Malarkey, who hadn't pit yet. That's interesting to see. But definitely going to be, I think only time will tell how well this strategy is going to work for the 74 and the likes of the 19 and 13.
Yeah, because, you got to think 5 laps into the run, and Nick Crawford had already advanced about that of 12, 10 positions from where he restarted. So he's got a lot of work to go forward. But, some drivers taking it easy, underpacing. Drivers are able to relax a little bit more, as John Forbes is one of those drivers taking it easy. First driver on fresh rubber and has been in control this race. This is going to be the first time that he's going to be having to deal with slight traffic with the fresher tires and rubber to work with. I think this isn't the worst place to be for John Forbes as he's getting focused and ready for this restart.
I don't think it's the worst place, like you said, but he's got to be smart here as we got him on the cam. I mean, he's going to have to play this very, very cautious, but also be aggressive to get past these guys and not allow someone like a Cochran or a Cedric Hunter to get past him. And, you always want to control the race. So I think if you're Forbes here, he's going to be very, very aggressive, but he cannot put himself in a position where it ruins his race.
I want to say thank you to everyone that's joining with us here tonight on Freaky Fast Broadcasting to watch the ISRC Larry Art Productions Truck Series, as this race is a Legacy Art Productions 140 throwback night for the league. That's why all these schemes are so different from their traditional ones. The pace cars into pit road. We are back to green flag action. Nick Crawford, Justin Malarkey going to be our front runners. Crawford's already gone, and a wall of drivers trying to hold back the 11 of John Forbes, who's got the freshest rubber of everyone here. And Forbes, maybe think about 3 wide as they enter the dog leg.
Good job, good patience showed through the middle of the corner, not to run over the 19, but now him and the 7 of Cedric Hunter flying up through the center there as everybody stacks up here. And it looks like the likes of New Phoenix right now.
It really does, with everyone trying to move forward, as there's still 3, 4, 5 drivers all scattered with one another. But there's wrecking in front on the back stretch, and it's the 6 of going to be Justin Smith. And a lot of others start to pile in late, but kind of saw that coming with the fact of everyone dealing with the older tires compared to the new. That surge of fresh rubber was so much more greater, and the 6 just got absolutely swarmed. It kind of turned into a pinball going around and bringing out our 3rd caution of the day.
That is a helpless feeling to be right there in the middle of that right there. Right now, Smith is just holding on for dear life with the older tires, and coming off this corner, you're going to see he's 3 wide. He's going to have to check up a little bit, and then he's going to make a darting move back to the outside, and that's Talmadge to his outside already. I mean, that's a truck on the outside. It's going to put him into the wall, and always see Max Cost coming there late, but such a tough break for Talmadge, who, just like Richmond, again, kind of an innocent bystander and involved in more wrecks.
Yeah, it looked like that was Max Cost just locking up his brakes and just spun the rear tires out while sliding in and giving Talmadge a little bit more of an incident there. As we take another look at it from Max's point of view, 63 again, seeing smoke ahead. Once he exits out of turn 4 and into turn 1, has to make that hard decision and zag these drivers, making adjustments on the fly. Looks like maybe the brake bias was a little bit too far in the back.
That impossible, as you can see here, already locking up the rears, and he was fighting it from the moment he saw the smoke. So tough break for him, but luckily it wasn't too big of a hit. We've seen a lot bigger hits than that one, so he'll probably be able to get that thing fixed up. And this track, not too air dependent also.
As drivers entering pit road, Max Koss, Mark Morales, Jesse Thornock, Tyler Dangler, and Justin Smith going to be coming into pit road, get service done, repairs, or think about maybe get some more fuel for themselves, as we're going to be less than 20 laps to go in this stage. Stage break at the end of lap 50, and for Nick Crawford, Justin Malarkey, and Travis Everett still going to be out there on slightly older tires for Everett and Crawford. Malarkey still on 29 lap old tires, is yet to pit. Everyone else has taken 4 tires or fuel at some point this race. The 73 is going to be probably the big sitting duck that we have to circle up, and will he be the next driver that gets pinballed just like what we saw for the 6?
It very well possibly could be that factor, but gotta give him credit. Done a good job so far on that last restart to just hang on to what he had. And right now he's in position. If we get a few more of these yellow flags and he can just hang on, you never know, he could be in the mix to fight for still stage points, even though we're still 20 laps away. These things can quickly get out of hand. We know how short tracks can be. One caution can lead to another, and next thing you know, you got 5 or 6 just thrown right on top of you. So we'll see if it cleans up from that point of view, but right now Nick Crawford on low tires had a lot to think about, I think. Same with Justin Moore.
Certainly does. John Forbes going to be on the freshest of tires in second place, going to be on the outside. Then Cedric Hunter going to be on the outside with the 11. Watch those 2, maybe the 3, the ones that are outside row might be the ones that take off here the best to watch out for on this restart, as we're exiting turn number 4 from Legacy Arts Production 140 at Legacy Phoenix. Pace car into pit road, and it's time for us to get back to green flag racing. 20 laps to go before the stage is done. Top 10 drivers get bonus points, and Crawford on slightly older tires tries to hold back the 11 of John Forbes, but it doesn't look like it's going to be for very long, as other drivers are starting to fade back. That's Justin Malarkey in the 73, who gets placed 3 wide through the dog leg.
Through the dog leg, 3 wide. Here we go. It's Danny Cochran who made the move. Christopher Norris following the 2 through. He's actually almost going to get in the back of the 2 as he follows through the corner, but it's the 16 of Kanata who's going to take advantage of it and move himself up into 4th.
And Kanata on that first initial start of the race learned that the inside row is not comfortable, and the outside's where you want to be, and the 16 is making those moves to go forward, but Danny Cochran's trying to hold back as strongly as he can as the 16 and the 2 make slight contact out of the exit of the corner. The battle for the lead, still Nick Crawford and John Forbes in line, and I'm curious on how the teammates are going to work this thing out. Does John Forbes just take off and go? And it looks like that's what he wants to do for the lead.
That he does. Seems like John Forbes definitely going to be pressuring to take that lead, but got to give Crawford a huge amount of credit right now. Surprised that thing was fired off that well. I mean, he just ran his fastest lap of the race on these tires, but right now it's going to be the 11 having the grip, looking to the inside, and I think this is going to be a done deal when we get to 3.
Snowy Desert teammates going to give each other plenty of space to work with here. Also try not to lose too much time, as Cedric Hunter battling right behind him in the 7. Shockingly quick here this evening. I think we both were kind of shocked on the amount of speed that Cedric has, but this 7 is looking good here tonight, needing a massive day after being all the way back in 24th in points, missing out on the first couple of races this season.
I think with Cedric that he's checking off the box that we haven't seen from him a lot is the short run speed and the qualifying pace. I mean, qualified well tonight, put himself in the right position. We've seen him before be very, very strong on long runs. If we get a longer run here tonight, watch out for the 7. He could be a factor coming down to this thing, but we got a yellow.
Caution in the back. It's the 5 of Dakota Moniz getting in trouble for himself as he's trying to get his way pointed forward. But another incident out of turn number 4 for the crew. So it looks to be Samuel Gonzalez and the 5 Dakota Moniz having their issues off the exit of the corner, and this will put us in a closer dash to the end. This is what brings out our most recent yellow of the evening.
You see the 5 up top there, kind of following the 13 of Everett. And he's going to try to slot in line behind this 51 of Greathouse, but the 50 has already got a good run to the inside, and when the 5 comes down, the 50 is there, and just 2 lines coming together. It's going to be the 5 into the inside wall. Tough break for Dakota.
It's one of those quick bang plays. It's hard to really, there's no blame I think you could put on anyone, more of just a racing incident where there is no way to really, unless you have a real life spotter in your ear, let you know there's a guy at your quarter panel. That's a tough spot to be if you're Dakota or Gonzalez in that spot, but that'll bring out our most recent yellow, and Looking at drivers at this moment, maybe you take a set of tires if you're Justin Malarkey, but 73 has now fallen back to 13th. Nick Crawford, huge kudos, staying inside of our top 3 in 3rd right now for this next restart.
I think these caution laps are huge for Nick Crawford more than anything. I mean, helps cool the tires back down. It makes that difference that he has on the tires not as big in my opinion, and allows him a better opportunity to try to hold on here and just get the lap 50 and try to get at least some stage points out of this. He knows it probably, the way the cautions have fell hasn't worked out the optimal way for him. But if he comes out here with stage points, I think he'll come out of this thinking, well, that was a huge victory that I could even hold on to that. As I think he's giving some love to Cedric's back bumper.
Just a little tap here or there as they continue to race forward. Again, thank you to everyone that's joining with us here tonight as the drivers get themselves ready for all this amazing action. Also saw in the chat, happy birthday to Chris, who's been in the chat most recently a lot with us. We appreciate you coming in and checking out all the series that we cover throughout the week, as we cover 4 different series here tonight on Monday nights. We have the ISRC Truck Series, we have the BRB Cup Series, as they've actually made a change to their Tuesday race. At the end of their regular season, no longer will be Homestead. There's a little bit of complications on the setup for that vehicle, so they are changing the race to Talladega. So tomorrow night going to be an exciting one for the field. WSSR cutoff race for the first round of the playoffs. Who's going to make the round of 11? We'll find out as they go to Legacy Phoenix. And if you want more Phoenix, well, we got you covered on Thursday, as that's where the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series is heading to as well. So 3 Phoenix races, 1 Talladega race. We're going to get tired of the desert, I think, very quickly here, Zach, this week.
Yeah, definitely, for sure, Sam. It's an interesting week for me, especially the week, got the Legacy Phoenix here, as I'll be racing Wednesday, of course, here at Legacy Phoenix. And then, Thursday night, we'll go to the new Phoenix for myself. So, yeah, I got 3 Phoenixes that I don't even know what to expect from any of them, personally. We know how Phoenix can be, and I'm still getting thrown for a loop that we're restarting out of 4 still.
Yeah, it's bizarre. We're still trying to get used to it, as we are back to green flag racing here at Legacy Phoenix for the Legacy Arts Productions 140. Very close and hot heavy for the battle for second place, and other drivers behind. John Forbes is gone. Hunter and Cochran almost making contact, but this race is all about who's going to be inside of the top 10 coming to the end of lap 50. That will be the stage break, unless we get a caution at lap 45 to lap 50. In that range, we get a yellow. That will count as a stage break, so all these drivers know every position counts to move forward and stay inside of the top 10.
That they do, Sam. They really know everything is available. Right now, Nick Crawford, he's the one I'm watching. That 74 is dropping back here. Those older tires not firing off as well on this restart, just because he's in the middle of the pack and he has trucks to his outside. If he can just find a spot to slot in, he might be all right, but he's got a hungry herd of drivers behind him as he's battling Cassidy.
Trying to hold back, and right now Cassidy's going to slot right in to that 5th place position. But behind Nick Crawford, there's not a lot of pressure on the 74s, and a lot of that positioning is for 9th place. Ollie Fonseca as well is going to be battling with Malik Kuntz as they're side by side, as well as seeing Cody Reed and Jared Talmadge trying to make their way forward as they continue to battle side by side for these positions, kind of creating a wall with Ollie Fonseca on the inside. And the 24 holds steady, and for that ground for 9th place.
He does hold steady, and Malik Kuntz, 98, who was on his outside loose there. What a drive from him so far. Started 28th here tonight, up to that 10th position. Definitely our biggest move of the night we've talked about. And right now he's got Cody Reed fighting the 10 of Jared Talmadge, who's making a great rebound after that incident he was involved in.
Yeah, ran into a driver, but then also ran in the back, and the 10 get some of the repairs done. It's still fast enough to be inside of our top 15. Looks to be even quick enough to maybe be inside of our top 10 if this race continues to progress forward. As update on Justin Malarkey, he's now down to 20th. So the net gain he was hoping for has now kind of snuffed away, but does have that extra set of tires that no one else will have once we get to the stage break. I think that's a big thing to note on for the 73 if we get late in this race, but everyone else, it's all about who can climb into the top 10 at this moment. As I see the battling for 15th, that's the 51 of Matthew Greathouse in that Snickers throwback scheme. And I love that scheme. That's probably one of my favorite Kyle Busch schemes from the back in the day. And the 51 is making it work, trying to get to the outside of the 4.
I love it too, Sam, and also with the 51 on the side of the truck. I mean, that's just cool. That's, you know, how Kyle Busch loves the 51 on the truck. So that is definitely cool to throw back to Kyle and put the 51 on the side with his number. So definitely a good fit as we look back to the drivers that are behind him. It's Anthony Gaudio in 16th, and the 01 also of Aaron Kralik here in 17th, directly behind that line of trucks that's just stacking up.
And stacked up, but hey, he's giving you an opening to maybe push forward. If you're the 01, a lot of these other drivers are just inside of the top 20. And maybe it's just a settle in type of phase. You know that the caution flag's about to be thrown here in the next 5 laps, 5 to 6 laps. So you know that there's a yellow. You don't need to put too much pressure up front. But those drivers up front, they are all watching John Forbes pull away. As the 11 just hitting his marks at this time. And everyone else just waiting for their positioning to tackle to go forward. There's some slight battling just outside of our top 10, but 10th place, it's Malik Coates, as Nick Crawford you see in the 74, still inside of our top 10, and this is still a net gain for himself, even with the different strategy calls that were made.
I am so impressed with how he's been able to hang on. I mean, he's hung on almost to the back of Thomas Green, and he's got Kanata here racing side by side with Fonseca. This is the best news that Nick Crawford could see. If he's able to hang on in 7th here, Sam, this is just, I mean, personally a net gain for him almost, because he wasn't even only thinking 7th at that point when he pitted earlier.
Yeah, I mean, this is great showing. A 12-lap difference in tires, got the help of the caution laps. And staying in 7th, you can just imagine what speed Crawford has if he was on equal footing with the drivers that are around him. As keeping our sights shown here on 10th place, Cody Reed. Just a couple of more laps left before the stage is done, and the 25 would love to get inside of our top 10, get a bonus point, feel a little bit more comfortable, not having to worry about points later on in the season. Every point matters so much. We've seen so many ties, 1-point advantages. That's why these points are at their crucial moments when you get late in these stages. That's going to end a lap 50, or if you get a caution, and well, there it is. Caution flag is out, and that's the end of the stage.
Ooh, they got the big damage down here in the middle of turn 3, and I think Tyler Horn is the catalyst here in this one here, is I believe him and Joshua Freed, they have gotten into it heading into 3, and from there was some big hits that collected Samuel Garcia and Dakota Moniz.
Drivers that were in the second pack trying to take it easy, caught up in this one. Malik Coates, going to be seeing Tyler Horn, and then having Malarkey and Moniz and a couple of other drivers get involved. But here's the initial slip up, slide, contact into the outside wall. It gives Joshua Freed a chance to get on the inside. And these drivers continue to bicker back and forth on this positioning. They continue to stay side by side in the dog leg. Horn gets the better launch, so he'll be having that slight advantage, but the contact here on the entry that spins Horn around, and then the aftermath, Zach, of just so many innocent victims with that late race collision.
It was. You got Malarkey who comes there and hits him, Garcia, and then Moniz. That's just a tough break for all 3 of those guys, and they're going to have to get those trucks worked on now. Here is that caution right there, like we said, going to bring it into the stage.
And your Morecast stage winner going to be John Forbes at the timing of that caution. So congratulations to the 11 machine, who also is going to win the race out of pit road. Samuel Garcia is going to be staying out still on track, expecting the 50 to enter pit road here shortly. But congratulations to John Forbes. Let's see if we can actually queue up our stage winner and see how he's feeling after that run for himself. Currently 2nd place, winning the race out of pit road, and also going to be your Morecast stage winner. The 11 of John Forbes and Sam Zach with the booth. You got us?
I got you guys.
Well, you look dominant up front, but how is it feeling in that truck right now?
As long as I'm up front, I feel very, very confident in keeping it. But yeah, so far it was a pretty routine stage. Got a bunch of cautions in there. Kind of I would have rather had it go green that whole time, but it was some good restart practice, a little bit of traffic practice. So hopefully we'll get some green flag racing from here. Just feels very confident out here.
Definitely looking really good out there, John. Take us through the shifting, man. It seems like that's an interesting part of this.
Yeah, it kind of it makes the tires a little bit more equal, I feel like, instead of abusing the right front by shifting down to 3rd. So it's just a matter of keeping the tires on it on the exit and 3rd, and just knowing when to shift and when to downshift.
Oh, can't wait to see more of your racing action there, John, and good luck on this restart.
Thank you, guys.
That's going to be Snowy Desert Racing driver in the 11 and John Forbes. Going to add Cedric Hunter to his outside, and just like that, the stage is over. There's no longer any worries about stopping. It's about who's going to win this race now from here on out. As John Forbes hits the accelerator, going to have Danny Cochran to his rear bumper, but the side-by-side racing goes to second place as Forbes is already ahead.
Forbes was another great launch there as Danny Cochran slots into second with his teammate Cedric Hunter in third, but it's the battle from fourth on back. Nick Crawford on his new tires. Let's see what he can do up to fourth.
Up to fourth. Now going to be seeing how is the equal footing with this set of tires. Also for others like Ollie Fonseca, who's been struggling maybe a little bit on these fresher rubber and getting that temp settled in and brushing the wall now is going to be Fonseca. Just it seems like some of these drivers, Zach, this track is not playing nice to them, and it continues to snowball as this race progresses.
This old Phoenix is definitely throwing a few guys for a loop, I think. It's very different. I mean, it's just a completely different track. I think it's more comparable to something like Richmond as you see Fonseca throwing into the corner there. Definitely been pretty interesting to watch, and definitely, like you said, throwing a few guys off.
This is the field still going to be side by side. It's going to be Thomas Green trying to get by Ollie Fonseca. Malik Kuntz trying to put the pressure, move forward in this pass and battling just outside of the top 5 as we are 54 laps in the book of 140. Thank you for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thank you also to the amazing sponsors that help out here for the ISRC Truck Series as the battle continues on for 6th. And it's going to be seeing Thomas Green try to hit the accelerator, but not enough space for the 00 to keep that positioning. They'll still drag race into turn 1.
Side by side with the 00. They're very close on entry to the 24's door. And interesting to see that throwback of Jeff Gordon there. Just to see Green get loose and allow the 24 to make the pass. That was a great battle right there. As now Kuntz is going to take advantage of that, and that's going to be the 98 to the outside of the 00. So now Thomas Green just got rid of the 24. He's going to have another truck to his outside once again.
Or they battle back and forth. It's going to be allowing the 16 and Joshua Kanata to get into the mix as Kanata's looking for that consistency for himself as searching for more top 10 finishes is Joshua Kanata, but hoping for some top 5 finishes if possible here tonight as he gets right on the back bumper of Malik Kuntz, and Kuntz seeing some pressure as we fall back to battling outside of our top 10, and it's going to be the 4 with a nice drift. Holding on is Preston, but they also have trouble ahead. That's the 00 of Green, who has a bad exit out of turn number 4.
It just snowballed for Thomas Green. Lost those 2 spots, and I think actually got loose right as he came off the center of the corner. I don't know if he had contact from Malik Kuntz earlier in the corner down sideways, but man, oh man, the 00 having a tough time. He did a great job to save that thing, though, not hitting it 7.
He certainly did, but I mean, this track, you could call it kind of a lazy looseness sensation, a lazy spin off the exit of turn 4 that's always there if you get the throttle maybe a little bit too early. But I mean, Zach, this track is so unique in that way of the looseness off the exit of the corners, not like any other track that these drivers handle with.
It really is completely different. It's weird because you're shifting down the 3rd, like we were talking to John Forbes there. You get those more revs, that more torque in the rear end, and it almost feels like it has more grip till it suddenly doesn't. So it catches you off guard a little bit, and even sometimes as you shift up the 4th, you'll have that wheel spin. So it's definitely one of those things you got to watch out for. And this track just so flat off the exits makes also putting the power down that much more important.
Jeet here is Zari and Greathouse continuing to show a great battle between one another as another great battle that's going on. Joshua Free, Christopher Norris, and Christopher Norris trying to rock on the inside in his Casey Kane number 5 throwback that he puts on his 38. Battling with Joshua Freed. Freed coming into tonight 15th in points, and I mean, this has been a great start for the 39 machine when you look at the way that he's been running, but challenging with some of the top runners. Christopher Norris really having to work through all this traffic after a long sitting in pit road at our stage break.
It wasn't even sitting there for him, and we dive into the inside here almost going to get the nose in there, but it's going to be Kralik who's trying not to allow me to get the good run, but the 38 does a good job and is able to pull alongside to the quarter panel. Now I have a full nose alongside entering 1 and have a better chance here to try to drive up off this corner and get into 3, because I feel like passing in 1 and 2 very difficult. down here in 3 and 4, I feel like this is much more the spot you want to try to get the passing done as we see Chris Williams.
Yeah, well, that exit turn two, kind of that setup. How do you get through keep the momentum, the speed through the dog leg and into the first corner of turn 3? So crucial for these drivers as Christopher Norris and the 0-1 that continue to fight back and forth for another lap as we continue to march our way forward. And seeing the smokes that have popped up of drivers having their own issues. We find ourselves with Tyler Horn again involved with our most recent wreck that brought out a caution heading into pit road, and I believe has collected even more damage is Horn as he enters pit road. Might be calling it a night. As well as still in pit road is Samuel Gonzalez, but for the lead it's all John Forbes as he continues to march forward, and they just put down Justin Malarkey a lap down.
This is a good little run here. 13 laps in, Sam. We'll see how the tires start to wear, because Forbes right now starting to get closed in a little bit. Danny Cochran here maybe closing down that gap. Is this Forbes tires starting to fade away, or is this Cochran starting to push a little harder? As you see Cedric Hunter, he was able to get past Justin Malarkey that lap car and follow along these leaders, as Nick Crawford will be doing the same. But our top 4 all looking pretty quick, as even Cassidy broken into the top 5. We talked about the 17 from last week. Good short run or short track pace showing up.
Great short track racing currently. One driver though having a little bit of a spooked run was inside of our top 15. Anthony Gaudio, big slide for the 3 machine, going into turn number 3. Like just locked up the rear end and got himself into the outside wall. Loses a lot of positionings, and now we'll be back in 20th. But these drivers changing up their brake biases where they want to put the pressure, maybe putting too much pressure on their brake pedal, and they are trying to keep it underneath that. 65 laps in the book here at Legacy Phoenix as the field continues to race on. Mason Cassidy, Ali Fonseca, these 2 drivers, I was racing with them trying to get a sense of what the field's going to be feeling here tonight, Zach. And these 2 guys were constantly around one another, practicing how they were going to battle back and forth between one another, how their trucks are going to react in dirty air. And once you get that type of practice, you get to race time, and you're usually around that same person.
It's so funny to see. It usually does, end up that way with teammates, man. I tell you, and cool to see between these 2 here is Fonseca all over the back bumper trying to put the pressure on his teammate Cassidy here. But that's usually how it is. You practice, you share the info that makes both of you better, and then it helps you both equally, and then you end up racing each other in a race, and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have gave him too much of that info, but it goes both ways. So great to see the teammates battling hard, as I think we'll see that continue.
Yeah, I mean, it allows you to also get that sense of where are the other drivers' tendencies, how can you race around one another in a clean fashion, but also aggressively, as seeing some other teammates racing around one another. That's Danny Cochran and Cedric Hunter racing with one another. But into pit road, Nick Crawford, extremely early pit stop. I don't see a reason why he's entering pit road, but Nick Crawford has made the early stop for the 74.
Well, this is right at the edge of the window to make it. I've talked to a few guys, it was around 70 laps on fuel. So we're right in that window of making it to the end. I'm interested to see, Sam, does he take only 2 tires when it comes down to this stop here and just to top off the fuel? What I'm looking at looks like actually 4 tires in fuel. So I'm kind of flabbergasted by that.
I mean, Nick Crawford is always known for that driver that's always going to be one of the first to enter pit road, even when he's up front. But this is one of the earliest stops. And Crawford, with green flag pit stops, there's been a major worry of the exit out of pit road. That was one of the top 5 things that I had drivers tell me about that they were worried about: shifting tires, dirty air, and then as well, green flag pit exit, because it just shoots you out into the racing line. So these drivers, the more this race stays green, if we do get some green flag pit stops, this could be very risky to watch out for.
Another tough thing is where he came out into is pretty heavy traffic. He's actually starting to work around some of the traffic. As you see Cochran taking a look here to the outside and trying a little something different here down the feet. Look at this. So Danny showing he might have figured something out with his teammate here, Cedric Hunter, as they pull up to him. But I think for Nick Crawford, that kind of concerns is he's got to work through traffic, Sam. He's came out around the 11th position in the race, and it's not going to be easy to pass some of these guys. He's got to use some tire.
Gonna have to use some tire, as seeing Danny Cochran, trying different tactics of how to tackle this corners. That kind of looked very close to the way that Danny was taking the corners through 3 and 4 back in season 3 when he won that championship race to grab his first and only championship in this series. Taking those wider lines and trying to center up the vehicle a lot sooner off the exit turn 4. And right now, Danny Cochran, that one dash of quickness and closeness looks to be a troublesome spot currently as we fall back to some other close racing action that's been going on between drivers. You got Travis Everett as well as Sean Malarkey slowly going backwards, and drivers trying to get around one another, but also this is the battle going on for 13th in that white Joshua Freed machine.
And look, they're starting to go up the racetrack like you talked about. We see on the newer version of Phoenix, that is the preferred groove in these trucks, is up in that 3rd lane. Here on the older version of Phoenix, it's not that way, but it seems like as the run goes on, these drivers are starting to search and maybe find a little something up there. So that is exciting to see. And even thinking back to old Phoenix with NASCAR, that is definitely a groove that was possible back in the day to try to move around and find some speed as Everett finally gets to the inside of Free here, going to try to make that position up the 13th for a 13 car.
Trying to make the move after getting some slight contact earlier in the race. But for us, we are officially in the second half of tonight's racing action. When will the drivers make their pit stop? Already one of Nick Crawford has done so. The rest of the field, they're still thinking about when they will enter pit road for the first time under green flag racing. But for us, we're going to take our first commercial break of the night as they continue to duel. Don't worry, you won't miss a thing as we're going to go side by side here tonight. You're watching the ISRC Larry Art Productions Truck Series, the Legacy Art Productions 140 here at Legacy Phoenix. It's been a fun one so far, but we'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISRC Lyra Productions Truck Series, Season 6, Race 5, the Legacy Arts Production 140. Drivers are starting to get a little bit more mixy out there on track as we have been clean and green for the last 30 laps for these drivers. It's been fun to watch ever since our stage break, and they started to clean things up, but you're starting to see the wear and tear on the tires. Drivers feeling the looseness even more off the exit. The entries are getting tricky. But right now, it's been all John Forbes leading the way with Danny Cocker behind him. But on screen, you're seeing Malik Kuntz, GT Rosari, Christopher Norris, all on top of one another. This is battling for 8th place and also battling back for 13th. It's been close. But this has been fun action for us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting to give you. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall up in the booth. Running productions in the background is Robert Moyer Jr. And Zach, this doesn't look like it's going to stay together for very long as GT gets a slight tap from Christopher Norris.
I didn't think that was going to stay together for very long for sure, as they're going to see here. I think the 14 is not going to show too much pleasure to the 38 there, who, you know, the 14, nowhere for him really to go. He had the 98 straight on his nose, and I know Christopher Norris is trying to go too, but sometimes you got to back down there. As he's going to see he's going to fall in line. As you're going to see, they're going to continue to race now to let the 98 kind of get away. You see Christopher Norris continuing to look left to right, trying anyway to find around the 14.
As they continue to battle to see who's going to get this 8th place spot. We've had plenty of great racing action throughout the night. One driver, though, has gone with an extreme early pit stop. That's Nick Crawford back in 25th position, is back on the lead lap, and is continuing to muscle his way forward. Max Koss has just entered pit road. We've just lost Tyler Horn to be our first official DNF of the night. Here's some other great racing action. Joshua Freed starting to feel that handling drift away as he's going to have Jarrett Talmadge and Thomas Green teammates making their way forward as quickly as they can. But for Talmadge, he's going to get a tap. What a save by the 10. But there's the opening the 00 was looking for to make the pass on Freed.
Great racing we're having right now here at Phoenix. This old track putting on a show as the 00 is going to dive to the inside of his teammate. As the 10 tries to hold on, I think the grip will go to that outside line here. As you can see, Green just not having the drive off. It's going to have to slide in behind. But now, with the side draft, it's going to be able to pull the 10 back here in the dog leg.
Pulls back down into turn number 3. Freed was trying his best to keep the momentum, but Thomas Green not able to gas it up after being pinched by Talmadge. Talmadge not playing kindly with his teammate, and the 10 will hold steady for 13th. As this is some of the best racing and battling going on is for 14th, as well as the battling that was happening for 8th place. Those are your kind of pods of where a caution may pop up if they find themselves in any type of issues. As the field continues to race forward, another driver has entered pit road. That's Ryan Ferraro, as the field is officially into the second half of this race. Zach, right before we went to commercial break, talked about how they are officially in the window to make it on if they decide to come into pit road, but that risk to enter is where it's tough to make the decision.
That it is. I mean, if the caution comes out now and you pit, you know, a couple laps before that, you're going to be going a lap down for sure. And we saw Nick Crawford, he got his lap back. But even if the caution comes out for him now, he's going to be back in 23rd. He wants this thing to cycle fully through. And that's placing a big faith in the field to make it through that full run, because I've seen a lot of people struggle with these exits, Sam. These trucks are getting pretty unruly.
They certainly are. And looking back at past Phoenix races, again, every Phoenix that they've ran here in the ISRC Truck Series, it has been a different configuration of this track. Season 1, they ran the second and newest configuration of Phoenix right before it got the new paving in color scheme that was brought for Season 3. And for both of those races, it was 8 cautions in Season 1, 7 cautions in Season 3, and a lot of cautions came up early in those races. But there also were a few cautions that always would pop up late in a run that would place them in a position where they would finish inside of regulation. But there was always that moment of, we could get that late caution that could throw us into overtime. So this field knows, yes, we're clean and green for now, but those last 20 laps are always going to be sketchy.
That they are. I think the thing that maybe Nick Crawford maybe could bank on a little bit. Oh, did you see the 14 sideways? Irizarry, he's going to go sideways here. No yellow as it finally comes out.
Well, you talk about a caution, it's going to pop up. There's your caution being brought out as GT Irizarry gets loose out of turn number 4. Self spins, and away our caution flag will come out after great battling between the 14 and the 98, going through a whole lap. The exit of turn 4, it's just going to be the apron. That is the worst enemy of GT Rosari here as they enter into turn number 3.
And you see they're trying their best here. This group's been stacked up this whole time. Look at them all running different lines here. Here's already going to do the big cut down here. As soon as he cuts down onto that flat, you can see it. The truck even just jumps that rear end out. And yeah, he just couldn't hold on to that machine as he tries to get back going. You can see here he backs up, and that's unfortunately just going to bring out the yellow. He couldn't get going with that wall there in front of him.
And the racing line being a lot bigger on the front stretch. That's what brings out our yellow flag here tonight. 50 laps to go, and no surprise, everyone into pit road. And just like we were noting on it, Nick Crawford needing this race to stay clean and green. Not going to be the case. I'm curious on the 74's decision. Does he stay out or enter pit road? As he's going to make the hard decision. Pit road has to be the call for the 74. As here is your race report. 6 cautions so far. We've had a couple of lead changes, not a lot, but now it's going to be John Forbes, Danny Cochran, who can have the better run out of pit road.
I think that'll be crucial. I watched the lap times there. Our top 3 are kind of the 3 drivers that I think we need to watch out for: Forbes, Cedric Hunter, and Danny Cochran. Whoever can get out in front of those 3, I think, is going to be the driver of the beat, just because the reason for that, it seems like the air has played a factor. So for someone like Cochran, who was able to get up close to Forbes, he wanted to be able to jump him maybe here in this pit sequence. Doesn't do it here, as you see Forbes comes off first, and Cedric Hunter going off second.
Comes out second as Cedric Hunter going to be enjoying that positioning for himself, hoping to be on the outside, might be placed on the inside row. As the rest of the field, less than 50 laps to go here tonight, as this gives us time to shout out the amazing sponsors that help out the ISRC Larry Art Productions Truck Series. We'll start things off with our title sponsor of Larry Art Productions. Larry Art Productions is a great place to go. Watch your variety of comedy, reviews, and so much more on YouTube and Instagram. Needing some entertainment? Larry's got it covered for you as you head on over to Larry Art Productions. Hilarious comedy skits that you don't want to miss out. And as well, we want to say thank you to Larry with how much support he's given to this truck series with sponsoring racing teams, drivers, tracks, and being the title sponsor of the ISRC Truck Series. Touched about them a little bit during qualifying. It's Hot Lap Threads being your qualifying results sponsor. Go get your racing tees, hoodies, hats, and more in great wares to find. Go on over to hotlapthreads.com to go get yourself your modern styling with some of the best racing apparel. Thank you so much to Hot Lap Threads and Morecast. Morecast being your spot to get also more great content. Morecast is our stage-winning sponsor. Go on over to @Morecast on Instagram for a variety of NASCAR content, including diecast, memes, and iRacing. And guess what? They also have a YouTube channel where they've got diecast reviews, NASCAR discussions, and more. Thank you to our 3 major sponsors and everyone else that's helped out throughout the season with sponsoring races as we get ourselves prepared for this launch. Zach, we got that clean green, a little bit of fun racing to watch. But here we go to see how this restart's going to go.
It was a very interesting run there we had that last time, but if we stay green to the end of this race, we will have a longer run this time. So we saw the rear end sliding out. We saw the people struggling with the trucks. I think right here now, you got to make that conscious decision. Do you go out here and use your tire up? Because if we get cautions, you're going to have to go for it. You can't wait. Or do you try to save something if you can stay green?
Drivers are hoping for a good launch here. Who's going to have the better acceleration? John Forbes has been amazing on these restarts, and he hopes for another one as we're back to green flag racing, and John Forbes already going to be a truck length, 2 truck lengths ahead of Cedric Hunter and the rest of the field as they go down into turn number 1, aggressively pushing down, and what a launch for a lot of these drivers with the exit. It's going to be Mason Cassidy, Malik Coates just using each other through the corner, and for the rest of the field, they somehow keep it together as they go down into turn number 3.
Oh man, the 98 there had to lift big time to fall in line to behind the 17, and the 24 almost in the back of him. So great saves and great heads up driving by everybody. Here's the 10 and the 01 are side by side.
Side by side, and seeing these drivers every opportunity to make a pass, as it's been so hard to make passes later on in a run, but you can start to see that damage of Talmadge on the outside, outright side of the 10 machine. Kralick's going to be bump drafting through the dogleg. Not the most comfortable position to be given a bump draft there, but trying to give a little bit more of a tap. Too much speed for the 10. Maybe a mistake to easily take a position away. Not the case as we fall back to Tyler Dangler, who's now just outside the top 10. And Christopher Norris gets spun in front of the field. Will lock it down, but other drivers start to pile in. And that will be another quick caution. And somehow the field was able to react and stay away from getting even more collisions on the 38.
Oh, man, that was just a huge stack up there. I believe his teammate Nick Crawford was back there with him. And, you know, interesting to see there. I mean, the 21 or 38 got back there, but we'll see here on this replay how this all happens. You see right there coming up on Thornock. The 38 has to check up, and the 14's there.
It's a tap, reacts Justin Smith to the outside, and that is kudos to everyone else behind. As Christopher Norris able to lock it down, not letting the 38 just drift up to that outside wall. That could have been a way worse collision, but having enough time for drivers to react around. What a showing by the 38 the rest of the field there, as this will bring out our most recent yellow, and GT Rosari gets the better run, bounces it to the inside, and Christopher Norris thought he had some spacing to maybe go for his own pass. Wasn't the case. Everyone able to advance around, and luckily everyone keeps it off the wall and able to keep it pointed straight. But we will be back under caution flag, and we will have less than 40 laps to go on this next restart.
Yeah, we will. And, you know, I went back and looked at it. Christopher Norris there, he sped on pit road, Sam, to get himself back in that situation, because I noticed he was racing around the likes of guys like, you know, Kanata in the 16, the 24 Fonseca, who were right around that fringe of the top 5 before we got that yellow flag. But, man, right there, speeding on pit road shows you if you get back there, sometimes you can just get caught up right in that little bit of a mess like that. And now you're even going to be set farther back now.
As we are about to be hitting lap 100, there's been, whenever there's a throwback race, Lariat Productions has been the sponsor for that race, and he always gives out $25 on the driver that he feels has the best scheme out there. Well, for Larry here tonight, at the stage break, he made his announcement of who his favorite scheme was going to be, and it's going to be 17th place runner in the 25 machine, Cody Reed, running the throwback Dale Earnhardt Jr. Mountain Dew Zero Diet Mountain Dew, scheme. That 25 machine is going to be your $25 winner here for Scheme of the Night.
Congrats to him, man. That's definitely a great looking scheme, and everybody does a really good job here at this league of really getting really good looking trucks out here when they have these throwback races. And very cool to see something like that. The classic Diet Mountain Dew Dale Jr. scheme here is they got the more cast flavor to it.
More gas flavor on it. I know Cody, when it comes to these throwback schemes, I think he almost always, each time around, has one of my favorite schemes to look at. I think back to his Hot Wheels scheme a few seasons back, but this one is just as clean. As I know a lot of these drivers, they put time and effort into making sure these schemes and the throwbacks are, you know, have that spice of their own sponsors with the throwbacks, and it's always a pleasure to see for these drivers. Again, Cody Reed in the 25 is going to win the $25 for Larry's pick of the throwback scheme of the night for your throwback night. As drivers up front, it's going to be now 40 laps to go for John Forbes, and he has been the dominant driver here tonight. But Zach, I think one of the things that John Forbes might hate from this stat I'm about to bring up, we've had a driver get the pole, lead the most laps, but yet to win here at Phoenix. It's been Mark Whitley the last 2 times they've ran at this track. Mark Whitley never won this course, getting the pole and leading the most laps, and we've always had a different winner be there.
Cool. That's going against the 11 for sure. But I'll tell you what, the 11 of Forbes, he knows how to get it done here. You know, he's definitely a champion from last season, so he's put himself in this position before. Different Phoenix for sure, and you know, different situations, of course, and just different overall situation here. But this Legacy Phoenix track has played well to him. I expect him to be very tough to get around here, because it looks like it's going to come down to short runs.
Short run speed, and we've been shocked on the short run speed from Cedric Hunter. John Forbes has been the fastest driver on the short run, but we're seeing drivers starting to pop up that haven't really been here for most of the night. They've been around the top 5, but Billy Coons, 6th place. What does the 98 have here for this restart? Going to be the 3rd driver on the outside, but we are back to Green Flag Racing. The Legacy Arts Productions 140 is back underway as they stay side by side for 2nd place. Danny Cochran just ships it down there into turn number 1. That was a lunge by the 2.
I think if you're the 2, you got to try to get past this 11 machine. You cannot wait too long. If you wait and try to get him later in the run, I think it's just going to be too late, too long, too late. So we'll see if he can find some type of speed here to try to get around him. As right now, the battle's going on from that 4th position. It's Kanata, Mason Cassidy going at it.
Mason Cassidy and his GoDaddy throwback scheme with the Go Mason in the sponsorship, trying to go forward. As also the Greg Biffle 16 on the outside, doing their best through the dog leg, keeping it close to Cedric Hunter, but staying side by side for this long, you got a feeling someone's going to make a mistake as they accordion up on the inside road, gives Kanata the chance on the exit of the corner, keep the momentum, and now going to be drag racing Cedric Hunter into turn number 1.
Kanata loving this right now. He's just rolling the outside of these guys and is able to get track position as he's seeing it fit. And even coming with him, it's the 98 of Malik Coots. He's continuing his charge forward from the back.
Find wherever the drivers are moving forward, you place yourself there. There was an accordion up, you're just going to stay in your spot or go backwards as Kanata, with seeing Danny Cochran slowly fading back. The 16 almost had a chance to rip the top, and oh no, trouble behind. It's Malik Coots, gets spun around in front of the field on the front stretch as everyone's trying to scatter going into turn number 1. Slight contact for the 4, Preston, and for Malik takes the toe to pit road. Was once advancing forward, and in a blink of an eye, he is now out of this race.
Oh man, this right here, close race between him and Fonseca through 3 and 4, but it's going to be off of 4 here. The 98 is going to catch the outside wall, and then he's going to come down into that 24, and that's going to shoot him across the nose, and heavy collision to that inside wall from Malik.
Malik going to get that damage, and then as the drivers try to get around, the 98 drifts up slightly and clips the 4. And luckily for Preston in that 4 machine, not going to get required damage, just going to be a little scrape before Malik takes the toe into pit road and the field able to just drive on by. But this now is going to be getting us even closer to the end of this race, and now we're in that weird buffer zone where we got 35 laps to go. You've got 14 laps of green flag racing on these tires. I mean, a little bit less than that because of the amount of cautions we've had. But, I mean, Zach, you could come into pit road if you wanted to and get that slight advantage you're looking for on tires. Or do you hope you get a caution the next 5 to 10 laps and then you make your pit stop?
Well, not surprised to see this. Nick Crawford is going to lead him down the pit road. So he's been the one to set the strategy all night and kind of do the off-the-wall stuff. Looks like his teammate Cody Reed will follow him. Curtis Preston, after catching some of that damage. Justin Smith's going to come down. Ryan Ferraro, Martin Morales, and Malarkey, looks like. So multiple guys coming down here in pits.
It talked about, hey, you might need some strategy to get into the mix. For Nick Crawford, could either going to be banking on a strategy call here. Crawford, though, you have to relook at it. I think the 74 might have taken just 2 tires, and he did. Only 2 tires for Nick Crawford on this next launch.
Very interesting there. That almost makes you think, I wonder if he didn't have a set of left sides that he took earlier, but I don't remember ever taking 2, so definitely an interesting call to be made, and we'll see how it works out for him because wasn't really racing anybody off pit road, so I would have figured him took 4.
Yeah, and that's his last set of tires. So for Nick Crawford, using his last set of the race just for 2 tires, so he's stuck with what he's got now. Cody Reed going to be taking 4 tires. He'll be starting back in 21st position. Up front, rest of the field going to be on slightly older tires than this group behind. It's going to take a lot of work for Crawford and Reed to get through, and they might want this race to stay green if they want to push forward and use this fresh rubber to its maximum potential. As up front, John Forbes, Danny Cochran, Joshua Kanata, Cedric Hunter, Ollie Fonseca going to be your front runners currently. And it's been all John Forbes. Got the pole, has led the most laps here tonight, hoping to break the curse and get that driver who gets the pole, leads the most laps, and gets a win. Has yet to happen here at Phoenix, but it's Legacy Phoenix. It's a little bit something different. Might be just enough to swap things around, but this Legacy Phoenix, Zach, we're going to see it again this week as well as current Phoenix. So this is anything that you're learning or you feel like might help you on Wednesday night when we get to see this track once again?
Yeah, I feel like actually a lot, surprisingly. You know, you'd be like, wow, I mean, you know, comparing a truck to, 800 horsepower Gen 4 Cup Series car that has so little downforce. The things that, though, I would compare and take away is just the line. You know, seeing that you can move around, you have the ability to do that. We'll see if it's available on Wednesday nights with that car, but just overall in general, that factor of, you know, seeing the racing line, I think that's something you can take from car to car usually. And definitely, I'm taking my notes tonight because I'm gonna need a lot of help when it comes to there because we got to dig ourselves out of a hole. So we'll see how that goes. But I think these guys have got a big finish here coming ahead of them because this track, it's been pretty racy so far, Sam. I've been thoroughly impressed with this legacy version.
It certainly is. And then on Thursday night, we're going to be coming back to Phoenix, but it's not going to be this legacy. It's going to be the current. It means the dog leg will no longer have grass. It will be paved. We're going to be seeing drivers try to go 3, 4, maybe even 6 to 7 wide on restarts. But don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We still have tonight's race to finish out as we have 30 laps to go as we're back to green flag racing. John Force, Danny Cochran roar down into turn number 1. Not the best launch for Joshua Kanata, but he'll take a third place positioning as the rest of the field exits out of 2.
Side by side for that third spot. Kanata this time on the bottom, Cedric Hunter up top. Can the 7 hold back to the 16? That's going to be the question in hand. It looks like he will clear him, but now it's going to be Forbes up top trying to roll the outside. And that's what the big thing is. Can you get to the outside of somebody on these restarts and pinch him down?
Outside lanes where the comfortable zone is at. Other drivers, when you have fresh rubber, the inside seems to be your comfortable zone. But John Forbes up to 3/10 over Danny Cochran. And Danny was starting to fade backwards before that caution flag came out. So the 2's in a spot where I'm curious on what speed is truly there. As the battling for 6th place, we find ourselves side by side with Thomas Green and Ollie Fonseca side by side. And Ollie Fonseca outside row, finding that speed and momentum as he's going to be using up the 00 just slightly off the exit.
Very close touch between those two there off that exit, but hard racing. And now the 24 going to put it on the door, and no 00 going to get into that 24. So hard racing between those two is now the 00 and 10 going side by side once again. It seems like that inside line of the dog leg much faster.
Update on drivers that decided to take tires under this most recent yellow. Nick Crawford is up to 14th position and is just behind this cluster that we've been watching. And he's been taking 1 to 2 spots through the dog leg almost every other lap. So the 74, the speed is there, and he might try to go 3 wide again off the exit of turn number 2. Gonna have the speed, has the momentum, and we'll be stacked 3 wide for a quick second. But other drivers are trying to make some daring passes and moves as GT Rizari and Christopher Norris almost got into one another.
Very close there. We've seen those two get into each other earlier there, brought out that yellow, but Nick Crawford really flying on those 2 tires, showing that right side grip is available to him. And right now, he's charging through the field, and, you know, if anything, he can get a good finish out of this.
I mean, what's shocking to watch, Nick Crawford, again, he's on his last set of tires. He is pushing it forward quickly, almost instead of our top 10 now. His teammate Cody Reed that started with the 74 is still mired all the way back in 17th place, not using the tires as efficiently, or might be thinking about, hey, there could be a chance of another caution. Let's save this set just in case we get a late caution, and I haven't used up all that I've got so far.
That it is. This is going to be interesting to see if we do get any more yellow flags, what type of strategy is going to be employed. Because right now, Reed to the inside of the line will make the easy pass for himself up to 16th. And like I said, not taking off as quickly as Nick Crawford did this 25, but his tires, he took 4. He could come into his own here later in the run. As you see Crawford up there ahead of his teammate, starting to make the look into the top 9 now.
Going to be trying to make the pass on the 51, and Matthew Greathouse been having a fantastic night, staying inside of the top 10, but brushing the walls, going to be the 51, giving up the position quickly, and also going to be blocking the 39 of Joshua Freed, but Nick Crawford will gladly take another position and moves up to 9th place. Now going to be setting up for 8th place, and the gap between Nick Crawford and John Forbes, the teammates, 2.5 seconds in each lap that goes away. Nick Crawford, even with all these passes, actually has been running about 100 faster than the 11, so once Crawford gets some clean air, some space to work with, I think that 74 is going to be faster than that 11 machine.
And with only a 2.5 second gap, that's not a big gap here, Sam. I'm not going to put it out of the realm that this 74 could go up here and win this race, folks. If it stays green, it could play right into his hands. The question is, how much tires is he using up right now, and when will it start to fade away from him here soon?
Update on Cody Reed, the other driver who just used a set of tires, going to be up to now 13 for himself. He's in the middle of a gaggle of cars. Curtis Preston, who has been dealing with damage, also used a set of tires, will be back in 17th position. Not a lot of working has been done between this group, as Crawford still trying to find a way to get by this chain and kind of a train reaction of drivers. There's just not enough space to try to go for a pass, but Crawford needs to try to make some movement forward. He can't be passive here as we're closing into 20 laps to go. Every lap is so critical if you want a chance to try to steal this win.
That it is so critical for sure, and if you're Crawford, you can't get held up. So right now he's going to dive to that inside, get past his 0, and right now with the 24 Fonseca in front of him, he's got to find the way to get the gap that he needs, and he'll slot in behind now the 0, or in front of the 0, and now try to go attack the 24, who's going to open up the door here. So Crawford finding the ways through, and that is really helping him make the passes more efficient.
Up to 7th place in that last lap, John Forbes, yes, was quick. He was one of the fastest drivers on track, but the fastest driver on track, driver in 2nd place, Danny Cochran, is moving forward as Nick Crawford is slowly marching his way forward. But could it be a thing if Nick Crawford's burned up so much rubber getting through the field that Danny, who's been patiently waiting, letting the 11 pull away, he's reeling them back in as each lap now clocks away with 20 to go.
I think you could be right about that, Sam. This very well could be where the 74 gets up here, but just runs out of the tire because he's had to push so hard to get in the positionings that he is. We'll just see how that works out. But right now, Cochran, like you said, is closing that gap. But we've seen it before. Once he gets within a certain distance, that 11 is able to just kind of solidify his position, whereas this time Cochran figures something out.
A fun cat and mouse game going back and forth in the timing. When do you close in, or is that driver ahead of you maybe saving their tires? Did they push too aggressively? Were you saving your tires, or were you just not having any grip to work with? The unknowns of racing action is what makes it so fun to watch when it gets late to these races. And then on top of that, the unknown of if we get a late caution, that could change everything for this field. Sean Forbes, Danny Cochran continue to pull away. The gap now down to 8/10. That last time around, another 500ths faster was Danny Cochran. And every lap that ticks away, if Danny keeps at that pace, he'll be on the back bumper within the next 9 to 8 laps.
That's going to be the huge question. Can he keep up that pace difference, or will that start to fade away as we see Nick Crawford here last time by? He was about 200ths quicker than our leader, was not quicker than Danny Cochran though. So starting to see the 74's pace advantage start to creep away. Still about 2.5 seconds to his teammate up to lead, but right now flirting with the top 4.
Looking at also other drivers that came into pit road to take tires. Cody Reed is up to 10, but he's still got a wall of drivers that he needs to get by, running very similar lap times to 4th place runner of Joshua Kanata. So Cody Reed's got the speed, but how aggressive does the 25 want to be as they continue to push forward? Here's also going to be some other great side-by-side racing of Anthony Gaudio, Christopher Norris. Norris trying to make his recovery run to go forward. Right now continuing to stall out between himself and the 3 machine, as this is the battling going on for 13th place, and everyone else behind also trying to figure out where to slot themselves as the laps continue to click away. 15 laps to go here tonight for the Legacy Arts Production 140.
Well, if we're going to see a yellow flag, it's going to be right here probably. So this group is definitely racing hard with Gaudio, Christopher Norris here right outside of that top 10, that fringe top 10 for these guys back in the 12, 13 positions. Right now they all self-file in line, but this is going to stack up here with Freed in front of them.
They continue to stack on top of one another. Christopher Norris, Kralik, slight odds at the 38, holds on somehow. That is not a place that you want to get sideways in. It's so easy to overcorrect, and still losing that rear end is Norris. He keeps it straight, and right now there are 2 different storylines going on. You've got this battling for positioning of drivers just outside of our top 10, trying for every spot in position as Gaudio holds steady. But for the battle for the lead, Danny Cochran is crossing his fingers and praying this race stays green, because the 2 is catching up to the 11 as they're 3 wide for 13th place.
Wow, this is how long is this going to last for is the question right now. Is they're into the outside wall. As you see the 38 of Christian Norris just pushing the 3 of Gaudio down this front straightaway here as they head into 1 and 2. Here they go, is now the 4 is going to stack up out of the corner. The 38 jumps to his outside, and these guys are going at it.
We keep our cameras pointed here because we got a sense that this is where the caution flag could rain through and put us into overtime. If we have a caution with 5 laps to go or less, that will put us into a green-white checkered situation in overtime where we have 3 attempts if needed. But if we get the white flag, this race turns official, and it's all about who's going to get into victory lane. Norris is struggling in the 38. Same for the 3. Frolic wants to move forward. Same for GT Rosario, but there's just no space to work with as they continue to beat and bang on top of one another. Up front, Danny Cochran's within 4, almost 3 tenths, and there's the contact, the slide, the drift, and we stay green for now as Christopher Norris. How did he save that one?
I don't know how he saved that. Give him the good hands award because he just held on to that thing and kept this race green and kept our battle for the lead alive, because I feel like if not, we might have had John Forbes kind of cruising into the sunset with a short run here to end this. But now Danny Cochran has closed the gap down. It's 4/10, Sam. But this is about what it closed down to before. He got to the inside of him one time before earlier in this race, but wasn't able to get it done. His stuff overheated and Forbes pulled away. Did he save his equipment well enough this time with 10 to go?
And riding on board right there, you could see the slight difference of how the drivers have to tackle going into the corners. Danny Cochran a lot quicker and shallower into turn number 1. And once again, a lot quicker and shallower on the entry of the corners. And there's the yellow flag. Joshua Freed goes around. We get our quick caution with 10 laps to go. We're going to a shootout.
That we are, and that might have been, I think, contact between the 14 and I believe that 39 of Free there we saw spun on the back straightaway. So it looks like GT Rosario, the driver who's going to get in the back of him here, that brings out this yellow flag here, Sam. And man, oh man, this is going to set us up for a wild restart here as we see this replay of the 14 just getting in the back of the 39.
And we said that that was probably the group you're going to see a caution come out from, and it did. As GT Rosario Freed, bumper slide. GT over the radios apologizing for the spin. It throws away a great finish for Joshua Freed that was looking for a top 15 run. And it also might have snuffed out a chance to stop John Forbes from winning here tonight, or do you risk it by staying out? Already knew Nick Crawford was going to stay out. There is a wall of drivers deciding that they want to try their fates of staying out. And that is not the worst call in the world. And Nick Crawford is saying his blessings with each driver that decides to not go into pit road.
That he is. He's loving that sight there, Sam. I mean, we saw how well he was able to hang on earlier. Now this difference is going to be much more than what we had earlier, about a 12-lap difference. This is going to be about a 26 to 24-lap difference, really, when it comes to, racing laps on the tires. So this is it's going to get pretty wild because we've had our top 7 stay out.
And John Forbes is going to go even deeper into the field as Thomas Green will take 2 tires for the 00. John Forbes is going to be restarting all the way back in 9th place on this restart if everyone slots where they're at right now.
Oh, man, this is going to be wild to watch. And if anything, I mean, he might get stacked up on the bottom here, and someone like a Danny Cochran in 10th could take advantage of that.
I mean, we saw this almost exactly the situation happen during the stage break when Nick Crawford got the timing of the cautions that came out, and it took 15 laps before we could see Nick Crawford being passed by John Forbes. Also, it needed a couple of cautions to allow the 11 to move forward. We're only going to be having about 5 to 4 laps to go on this restart. Nick Crawford is sitting in a perfect spot. If he can get a great restart, stay clean and green, that 74 is looking good for a victory lane finish.
We'll see how much the tires come back to these drivers. I mean, if anything, it's going to come back to Nick Crawford more because he's going to have less wear on the tires than the drivers behind him. And this is going to set up for a very interesting battle to the end. I think if he can fire off well enough, Sam, and they get held up, he could very well win this thing.
Well, we better get the fireworks ready because I got a feeling we might need some overtime attempts. Again, the way that the trends have been here at Phoenix, they've only ran here twice in the past. It was back in season 1 and season 3. It was Mark Whitley that led the most laps, got the pole, but never won the race. Here tonight, John Forbes gets the pole, leads the most laps, and now he's mired back in 9th place. And it always seems like it's a late race pit stop that kind of puts the driver in a tough position. That was dominating here, Phoenix. Once again, another late race pit stop, late caution that just flips the head on a driver that thought maybe he had the win in his hands.
I tell you what, Sam, you called it earlier when you talked about the trends of how the yellows come out near the end. Well, here it is, and this is throwing it in the hands of Nick Crawford, Mason Cassie up on this front row, and the likes of John Forbes back there, who's dominated this race in that 5th row. You know he's going to have to be pretty nervous right now.
You got to be quick, got to be efficient as the drivers are stacked up and ready to get back to green flag racing. It is the Legacy Arts production 140, the throwback race at Legacy Phoenix. Only race number 5, but the drama is mounting up. You've got yourself plenty of drivers up front on older tires. The 00 is going to be the first one. Already Ducky Low trying to go 3 wide as John Forbes before they even cross the start-finish line. The 11 has to be careful about that one. Could get penalized, but Nick Crawford, great launch moving forward. They're going to be 3 wide going backwards, sliding, wrecking down into the grass and back up into the field. First caution comes out, and we're heading to overtime for our first attempt at ourselves. Woo! Zach, I knew that we weren't going to get very far and long into that run, but it was in an instant that we found ourselves in this scenario.
Oh, man, this right here, not surprised to see ourselves in that scenario for sure, Sam. And it was just so much stack up right there. And even I think the 11, I think when we go back here and watch it, I mean, Forbes just jumps to the inside. And yeah,
You can get in trouble for that.
Yeah, that's going to be a penalty. And then he comes through here, and then I think also he's going to move the 4 here. Moves the 4 up out the way. The 2 here has nowhere to go because the 4 gets up into the 98, and Danny Cochran and Cedric Hunter are the ones that lose out big there.
The big thing, right, is that you're able to move down 3 wide, but that's if the driver ahead of you has a misshift, doesn't take off. The 11, though, having enough space behind him, kind of jumps the start and doesn't wait. He takes off so early that he jumps to the inside. And I know team radios, there's sometimes teammates, they'll count down when they're going to take off, and might have been a countdown, but changing lanes like that could get the 11 in trouble. Might not get him in trouble during the race, but it could hurt him next week at the Milwaukee Mile, where track position as well could be very impactful to watch out for.
I guess that's the thing about it. I mean, if anything, it'll happen to him next week, and he has no worries this week, and it kind of just gained him a bunch of track position there for free real quick. So yeah, I think he'll take it this week and say if he can get the win, it's worth the penalty. But that's the question I guess you got to ask yourself. And he's up to 5th, while likes like Danny Cochran in 9th, Cedric Hunter in 7th, back in 12th. Those guys really lost out huge there while the 11 won out big.
And Curtis Preston in the 4 machine, again, has just been trying to hold off and hold on as much as possible, caught up in that wreck, and has called it a night, has left the session most likely going to be finishing in either 26th or 27th position. Hate to see that happen. We have just crossed over into overtime. These drivers have 3 attempts if needed, and under overtime rules, if we go back to green flag racing, these drivers will have 2 laps to finish this race. If we get a caution under the first lap, we will then go into attempt number 2. But if we cross over the line into our 1 lap to go, our white flag lap, these drivers will race at the end. No incident or wreck will bring out a yellow after they bring out the white flag. But it's always the get there aspect. As I was talking to the drivers, Zach, they said if we got to overtime, we most likely were not going to finish this race under green.
I think that would be a pretty fair assessment. And if that's the case, you're Nick Crawford, you got a long time here to go, because I think that 11's only going to get that much closer here with it coming down to the end. And when the 11 gets up there, it's going to be hard to hold back those fresh tires that have gotten up there. And even Thomas Green, I mean, he took 2 tires. He's up to 7th. That's going to be tough to hold back. So a lot of these guys are going to be hoping this gets done in 1 overtime attempt, but like you said, a few of them out there thinking it's going to be the other way around.
I'm curious also, because we're going to be getting ready for this launch. This is our first attempt at overtime. Pace car lights are off, so we are going this time. What is John Forbes going to do on this launch as well? Again, he got perfectly timed where he jumped to the inside. Again, that you're not supposed to change your lane like the 11 did on that last restart, but will he make that same move here if he gets that jump again? But he's got to figure out that timing to try to get by Ollie Fonseca and maybe force it 3 wide, which would make a massive difference if we need to go into overtime attempt number 2. But this is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining with us. It's time to see who's winning the Legacy Art Productions 140 at Legacy Phoenix. Nick Crawford on the outside is going to be your control vehicle. Mason Cassidy, Matthew Greathouse, going to be on the older tires, same for Ollie Fonseca and Ryan Ferraro. John Forbes going to be the first driver with four fresh tires, back in the inside row in 3rd place. We're back to green. Forbes did not take off. They're going to be checking up further on back. Nick Crawford got the perfect launch that he needed.
That he did. Nick Crawford here firing off pretty well, but through the middle of the field, they're stacking up big. And right now, off of 2, Crawford just trying to run away as Forbes going to look 3 wide to the bottom here in the middle of the dogleg.
3 wide, going to be action back for 4th place. John Forbes trying to muscle his way forward as Nick Crawford exits out of turn number 4, looking for the white flag. And if we do, this is the only overtime attempt we need. They keep it together. They cross the line. It's going to be your freaky fast white flag in the air. Nick Crawford trying to hold steady, but John Forbes is side by side for 2nd. The 11 gets clear. He's going to have 1 attempt to try to go after Nick Crawford. The gap's a half a second.
This is going to be close here. Forbes with the grip. Will he be able to get to Crawford in time?
Crawford going to be running that middle line. John Forbes going to be running down to the yellow. They're going to be on top of one another off the exit of the corner. Forbes has the better launch off the exit, trying to get to the outside, but into the wall. Nick Crawford will win as Calamity off the exit turn 4. Crawford is a 2-time winner of this season.
Wow, what a call by him to stay out, gutsy maneuver, and it pays off for Crawford, who wins the race. But back here, Sam, there was some extracurriculars coming off of 4, and right here, I think, the 38 into the back of the 14 at GT Rosari, and from there, I think they all start direct on that next lap around.
Moving the 14 around. This was the start of the white flag, and that's going to be the 14 spun around. So that takes GT out of any chance to battle up front. And then they start to just pile forward as John Forbes is trying to close in the gap. He was hoping for a better launch off the exit of the corner. Didn't work out, and then they all just start piling into one another through the center of the corner. There's green getting out of control, and then they just pile in after the fact.
Man, so many people with hurt race cars there crossing the line and just continuing to pile in. It is a little bit of a big wreck there down in the one, as you could say.
A massive wreck for themselves, but for Nick Crawford, he'll take the victory, breaking off that championship curse in Season 6. Looks to be redemption after a poor Season 5. Already 2 wins in 5 races. He'll tie with Vincent Sora with 2 wins, and his 74 is going to enjoy that victory. But for us, we're going to step away. When we come back, we got the post-race show. We'll talk to our top 3 and a spotlight driver when we come back after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISRC Lariat Productions Truck Series. Race 5 is in the books for Season 6. The Legacy Arts Productions 140 going to be going to Nick Crawford. Crawford now becomes the second driver with 2 wins this season. And what a surprise win this one's going to be. Nick, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations on your second win. How are you feeling after that one?
It's pretty hot, sweaty as usual. Don't know how it happened. I was trying every single way to not win the race, it seems, and I got really lucky with how the strategy played out there at the end. And honestly, one more lap, one more corner, John was gonna get it. It feels like a terrible win, but it is a win. And I'm glad my teammate at least got second. But yeah, it's a little bit mixed right now.
Yeah, you know what they say, a win is a win, Nick. So yeah, definitely gonna take this one as your second win of the season. That's good to have in your back pocket. But yeah, it takes to the strategy because your strategy was definitely what me and Sam up here were trying to keep up with all night. Kind of take us through your decision there to pit, especially very early in that first green flag run, or that one green flag run.
Yeah, for the stage, when you do already have a win, you can kind of do what you want and play around. Like last week, I pit early when the first caution came out, and then I got caught up in a wreck. This time, I did it again, and it worked out a little bit. But the caution came out again. They all pit, and I was just holding on. I think I still got stage point. After that, with the long green flag run, I knew I could run like 75 laps, so I was like, oh, let me just pit and see if it goes green. It did not, almost, but after that, I just took two left sides, and then we went a little bit, and then I took right sides, and then drove up through the field and got really lucky with how late that caution came out. I think it was like 10 to go, so even if everybody did pit, it'd be hard for them to get back to me.
It certainly did look like it was going to be hard to get to your back bumper. John, though, was right there going through 3 and 4. Now with 2 wins, Nick, you find yourselves being tied with Vincent Soar with 2 wins. How many more do you feel like you have left in you to try to grab this season?
To be honest, Sam, I just go with the flow. I take it as it is. I don't really have any races circled that I've looked at, even looking at the schedule. I'm pretty okay at Las Vegas. I don't know. I'm just going with the flow at this point.
Seems like a solid way to go for yourself. Well, congratulations once again, Nick. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Always got to shout out my beautiful wife. She's doing homework right now, but hopefully she can watch the race a little bit. Uh, Shout out to my teammates. They're always so much fun to hang out with, including Tyler. Shout out to you guys for doing a great broadcast, and shout out to the league. There's some pretty good racing there, besides the few cautions, but it was pretty fun.
It was awesome to watch. Congratulations, Nick. Enjoy it, and good luck next week at the Milwaukee Mile.
Thank you guys.
Well, from victory lane, we go down to second place from one teammate to another. We've got John Forbes in the 11 machine. John, you were the powerhouse. You were the favorite all throughout the night, but coming up shy in second place. I kind of brought it up during the broadcast that the trends here at Phoenix is the driver that gets the pole, leads the most laps, doesn't always get the win. And it happened again to yourself. How are you feeling, though, after your performance here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to say we're disappointed with, or I guess it's a good thing to say we're disappointed with second, with how well we've been running the season so far. But man, those last couple laps, thought it was pretty wrapped up there. And this series always has a way of kind of complicating that sometimes. So yeah, sucks we came away with second there, but still a great points night. Crawford was able to walk away with the win. So if there's anyone else I don't want, if I'm not going to win, if I could choose to win, obviously it's going to be a teammate. So it was a great points night. We should have the points lead back for the team stuff, and I might be back in it for the driver standings as well. So yeah, still a great night. Led almost most of the laps, fastest lap, the pole, everything except the win. So it's coming next couple of races. It's a pretty similar tracks to tonight, I'd say. So yeah, just looking forward to getting this win this season. It's been tough.
That it has, John. You came really close, man. You've had the speed for sure after winning the championship last season. I think you definitely have had plenty of speed to win races. So I think that win, like you said, is definitely right around the corner. But, you know, you like you said with the tracks coming up, how much do you think you can take away from tonight? Saying, or how much does this grow your confidence kind of heading into the schedule that we have? Because definitely some similar racetracks.
Yeah, it definitely it's kind of like a showing of where everyone's at speed wise in these couple past weeks and the weeks coming forward. 'Cause, like Daytona, you got Watkins Glen, a couple tracks that you're not at all the time. So just being at these like tracks, the short tracks, the medium mile and a half tracks that we're at for most of the season, it's really just a showing of where everyone's at in speed. So we're right up there. I think going into the playoffs and stuff is it's still way early, but just showing where everyone's going to be at for this season.
John, we kind of brought it up on one of those last restarts. You had to go 3 wide before crossing the line. Is there a worry about that incident? Because I know that restart violations have been something that the admins have been cracking down a little bit more this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it if I have to. I figured like this is my chance to win. If I have to sit behind a checkup, it's the chance of winning's gone. So I figured I had to do it. And like just looking like where Danny finished, he was I think back in 6th. So I think if I get it, it was worth it. I can't just take away my chance of winning the race over something like that. But they also did that lane checked up pretty hard. So we'll see what the admins come up with. But I'll respect whatever decision they make with it.
Well, still a strong run for yourself, John. Congratulations on your second place finish and a massive points day for yourself. Enjoy it and good luck next week at the Milwaukee Mile.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that is going to be your second place finisher of John Forbes. And then we move down to third place to the 17 machine. And we got Mason Cassidy with us. Mason, congratulations on a third place finish, as well as the biggest mover of the day award. How are you feeling coming away with a third place finish here tonight?
I'm pretty stoked. I didn't expect to be up in the top 3 after that qualifying. I really need to figure it out. But I just put my head down and charged up. I knew I needed to get some stage points. It was an awesome race. I enjoyed it.
Definitely was a very, very awesome race to watch from our broadcast standpoint too, man. So I'm glad to hear the drivers had fun like that. But you really seem to be a short track ace, Mason. I mean, take us through it, man. Do you feel like that's definitely your strongest part of your your wheelhouse?
Yeah, short track is definitely my thing. I absolutely love short tracks. It's what I grew up doing. I still do it. It's definitely where I'm faster at. I love being hard on the brakes. Diving into the corners is my type of thing.
Mason, grabbing your first top 5 finish of the season for yourself tonight. How do you feel like you can take tonight and carry it forward in these next couple of weeks? And we're getting to the Milwaukee Mile next week before we take a week off and then head to Gateway. And do you feel confident about these next couple of races that are coming up?
Yeah, I feel confident. Me and my teammates, we've been practicing a lot this season, and it's been helping out. And I'm gonna put my head down. There's some tracks I'm not looking forward to, but I just need to practice and get better. Seat time is key.
It certainly is. Well, Mason, congratulations on a third place finish. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
I like to shout out my girlfriend. She supports me with everything I do. She had surgery today. Still let me race. My awesome teammates, Ollie, especially Ollie. We dreamed about doing this when I was sitting at his house watching him do it, and now we're doing it together. So it's awesome. Cody for whipping me up the paint scheme. It's awesome. I absolutely love it. And that's about it. Of course, you guys for putting on the broadcast too. Thank you guys.
Well, thank you for giving us a great show to cover. That's going to be your third place finisher, Mason Cassidy in the 17. Congratulations on a third place finish, Mason, and good luck these next couple of weeks. Hopefully, we'll be talking to you again. As we move from third place, we go down to 10th place, a little bit deeper in the field, but to a driver that had just as well of a good finish at the end of the day, moved up 9 positions from where they started and grabbing his first top 10 of the season. We got Tyler Dingler with us. Tyler, I know you're kind of shocked that we picked you as our spotlight driver, but you're grabbing your first top 10 finish here tonight as we're cresting over into the second half of the regular season. Do you feel like tonight is a night that you could take away and say, hey, maybe it's my time to go for that playoff push?
Definitely, Sam. I definitely didn't expect myself to be getting a top 10 tonight, but I'll definitely take one. My race overall was kind of up and down with having a bag strategy at the beginning and then just unlucky yellows, but I can see myself going for a playoff push, yeah.
Definitely would be good to see that for the 19 team there, Tyler, man. And I tell you what, that last restart was wild. Take us through that green white checker because you were right in the middle of all that mayhem coming off of 4.
Well, Zach, going back to the beginning of the race, I had a bad strategy where I took just one more set that I didn't need to. So when that last yellow came out for a potential green-white checkered, I basically just had no more tires to put on, so I was kind of stuck in that position of being on that inside row on the restart, which got a little hectic. Luckily, that yellow did come out before I lost too many positions. But luckily, I got set up on the outside row where it felt like I wasn't going to get dive bombed into turn 1, because for some reason it felt like the inside was definitely the place to get freight trained. So it was important for me to make sure that I wasn't on the inside. But, ultimately the yellows didn't play out in my favor, but ultimately did in the end.
Well, Tyler, I know a lot of these guys here tonight went with real-life NASCAR schemes to have their throwback scheme with. Tell us a little bit more about your scheme that you were running here tonight.
Well, this scheme is very important to me. It was a callback to a driver in our old truck league that we used to run before we created the ISRC. He wasn't necessarily the best driver and had a bit of an attitude, so I always like to make fun of him. One instance, which you can kind of see on the back of the truck, he wrecked I believe he's our current points leader, and he's our Season 1 champion, Vincent Sora. He wrecked him at one point, and kind of made a fool of himself, so I decided to make a little bit of a fool of himself as well. But ultimately, I really like the scheme. I really like Harvick's, bush car, as well as, Petco and animals and all that stuff. But just have a little bit of quirks, a little bit of memeing around that I like to do from time to time. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, certainly a nice scheme. We saw a lot of them here tonight. But Tyler, before we call it an evening for yourself, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Well, obviously, I'd like to thank, you, Zach, and Robert for putting on the broadcast. I'd like to thank the league for, wanting us to come back for this 6th season. Definitely has been a couple up and down races, but so far I'm having fun, and hopefully you guys are having fun calling the races. I'd like to thank my mom. I'd like to thank my girlfriend for watching, if she is. And yeah, that's about it. Other than obviously SDR, which I was in the broadcast room with for a little bit. I can thank them as well.
Well, Tyler, again, congratulations on grabbing your first top 10 finish of the season, and hopefully this continues on with more momentum as we head to the Milwaukee Mile next week.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Well, we move away from our interviews. That's going to be Tyler Dingler, Nick Crawford, John Forbes, and Mason Cassidy we got to talk with. But what a race. Had to go into overtime. They're late for just one attempt needed. And Nick Crawford staying out. Had enough help of drivers that were behind him that stayed out as well. Hold back the hard-charging John Forbes in the 11 machine. And grabbing the win, it goes to 74 Nick Crawford as we take a look at the unofficial results here tonight as the pile up after the line. So many drivers were hoping for the big finish, but there weren't a big enough wrecks before they crossed the line, but it will give Nick Crawford the win. John Forbes will come in second. Third goes to Mason Cassidy. Matthew Grayhouse, another good finish for a rookie finisher here tonight as 51 will grab fourth. Fifth goes to Danny Cochran, Joshua Kanata grabbing sixth, Christopher Norris seventh, eighth goes to Cody Reed, ninth goes to Jarrett Talmadge. Tyler Dingler will finish out our top 10, and Zach, the rest of the field, I think some of them would hope for a different week to be upon us.
That they definitely are, man. I tell you, a few guys that ran up in that top 5, top 10 there that got knocked out late there. The 24 Ollie Fonseca, he's going to finish back in 12th, along with Cedric Hunter back there in 13th. I look at someone like even like a Thomas Green who ran top 10 all night back in 17th. So just shows you that things can quickly get away from you at short track racing. And when it comes down to green white checkers, we had people that went way back from where they were on that restart. So it just shows you if a wreck happens, you get involved in it, you don't get through it right, coming to the white flag, you just ain't going to get the finish that you're looking for. So a few guys are going to be coming out here tonight saying what could have been, but they'll have to try to all figure it out when we head to Milwaukee Mile, which ain't going to be much easier.
It really isn't, as the points have been updated. John Force will be taking the points lead with Nick Crawford in second, Christopher Norris in third. Vincent Sorty did not show up here tonight, but will be back next week. Falls all the way down to fourth place in points. So Soares got a little bit more work to do if he wants to take that points lead back. But tonight, what a pleasure it was. Looking at our pick'ems, none of us got it right. All of our drivers finishing fifth or worse here this evening. So Nick Crawford giving his second win of the season. He'll take that victory over us. But for tonight's race, again, thank you for joining with us as we take a look at our upcoming schedule for the week. Talked about a lot of Phoenix. Well, you had Legacy Phoenix tonight. Wednesday, we have Legacy Phoenix again, and then Current Phoenix on Thursday. Tuesday, though, a little bit different. The BRB Cup Series having their regular season finale because of some mess-ups that have been going on and behind the scenes that they have not been able to get fixed just yet. They've had to change the race from Homestead to Talladega. So if you want to see some super speedway action with drama of who's making the playoffs or not, you're going to want to come back here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting tomorrow night for more great coverage of racing action. Wednesday is the cutoff race of the round of 16 to see who's moving on to the round of 11 in the WSSR Cup Series. And then we continue on through the regular season with the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. That has been a fun series to watch. I know it's been kind of the favorites up front to watch out for, but it's been fun racing on Thursday nights with those next gens in the open setups.
It really has been. It's been a blast to see the open setups and the kind of the which teams are the ones to beat at certain tracks in certain weeks. And I think that's going to ever change throughout as we go through that season. But I tell you what, the other three leagues we got, things are going on amazing there too. And we got great action throughout the week. It's a Phoenixville week, but it's cool to have Talladega mixed in there tomorrow night for you guys to get you some super speedway side-by-side action.
Certainly is needed. With the amount of Phoenix we're watching, having a different flavor in the mix is always nice. But for us, thank you so much for joining with us on your Monday night on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Next week should be a blast as well. The Milwaukee Mile, last time that this league at the ISRC Truck Series was there, was season 1. Vincent Sora, Mark Whitley. They had to beat and bang to figure out who was going to take that victory in overtime, and it was Vincent Sora that took the victory. Might have to see someone else maybe bring out the fenders and use that chrome horn. But until then, if you want to see some more great racing action, next week's gonna be the day to watch it. But for us, thank you so much for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us. We'll see you next week for the Milwaukee Mile. Otherwise, tomorrow night, who's in, who's out? The BRB Cup Series heads to Talladega for the regular season finale, and that will be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.